at this time, I'm gonna intermittently switch between this and working on my dev streams. Or I would, but I've got this chapter and the next one. Because chapter 5 is not coming out till like... Actually, we don't know, but it's gonna be out before the end of the year. So that's a solid... A solid 7 months or so. So I'm gonna get the conclusion of this for a while, but I really wanted to start a new visual novel. So I'll do this week, dev stream next week, and then the week after that will be the final chapter. And then I'll go back to doing whatever for a bit. Whenever the final chapter drops, I'm playing it immediately. But anyway, I think pretty sure this is the Zion episode. And just look at this little fucking baby, of course. She's so cute. So let's jump in where we left off. And of course, the moment I hit stream, my mouse disappears. We're going to guess. There we go. Remember. Try to remember. Remember what she taught you. Her stories. Who she was. Who she still is.
Yosemite! Wherever are you hiding?
That voice.
Oh dear me. If she doesn't appear soon, I won't be able to tell her a story. Our picnic will be ruined. Whatever shall I do?
It still sounds so warm, as angelic as I remember. Remember. At least I can still do that much. Not all of us are so lucky.
Wait, I'm right here! I want to hear this story!
Did I seriously fall for that? Such a simple trick. Yet I can't help but wish to return to the days where I could fall for it.
Oh, I'm not so sure now. It's getting rather late. Perhaps we should return to the cabin. Preposterous! It's preposterous, dear. Preposterous!
There was a quick rustle. My head popped out from a bush. Or was it from behind a tree? Definitely some kind of flora.
Please, Zion! I want to hear the story about this again! Tell me the story!
What story was it? I'm not sure if I can recall. It was something simple, right? A fable? I'm positive. The description is on the tip of my tongue, but I know what it is. So why does my memory feel fuzzy when I think of it? Why does the word crackle like radio static?
Goodness. I suppose I have no choice then. No, you certainly do not.
Zion laughed. Her laugh was always so beautiful, like a song. It would always draw the birds to her. They would perch themselves on her shoulders, her wings, her antlers, back when she had them.
Very well. Come sit down, little one. You can't listen to a story from all the way over there, now can you?
Crawled out from whatever plant I was hiding behind. Yo! Holy shit. Sitting on a long toppled over tree, Zion pats her lap, her gown fluttering all the way down to her long body and drifting with the wind. Look up to smile at her, I remember that much. And what? I up to smile at her and, well, there was no face. That can't be right. No matter how hard to try to remember, her face is a blur. Her voice was beautiful, her belt was tall, so what did she look like?
Coming!
I skipped over to where she was sitting, and the more I think about it, the blurrier it gets. Details begin to blend. The patches of dirt and grass I was romping across mixed together. It's a spiraling green and brown vortex now. Was it even a log she was sitting on? Could it have been a rock? By the time I'm sitting on her lap, it doesn't matter. By the time I was sitting on her lap, she was my anchor.
Straighten your posture. But Zion, must I really? Only if you respect yourself.
Waiting to pull back my slumped shoulders, then rolled my eyes at her. See, now I didn't have a face either.
Now?
Zion nodded, but now it looks like watercolor smearing her down a canvas.
Once upon a time, in a field. In the past, he had been... including his clothes. While wandering the endless
More vanishing words now. Why aren't they coming back to me? Where did they go? Everything's congealing together now. Everything about this I can only remember as if I saw it through tears. World as I knew it is only a kaleidoscope now, a mesh of people, of colour, of sound. Not this one, please, any memory but this. It's too precious. Let me hear it again. Let me hear the story. Let me hear your voice. Please.
Yosemite. Yosemite. Yosemite.
I tug at my sleeve. I feel the breath leave my body as I gasp, pulling me back to consciousness. I jolt up in my seat. Zion flinches. Tell me this baby wasn't always baby? Horrible. Her wings are tucked in, wrapped around her like a blanket. The mangy pup is at her side, standing guard in case I make any sudden movements.
Go back to sleep, boy.
Her voice is gentle but firm. Seeing such authority protrude from this new small body of hers is comical, but just like animals always do with her, the puppy listens, and after a cursory glance, it trots over to its new overfluffed bed and lays down. Light had just barely began to creep through the window. The entire cabin is tinted in an untouched blue, scattered across the room. I can hear Yellowstone and the ranger snoring. The ranger's loud. I have to ask her what she's doing awake so early, but a yawn breaks from instead. Only an impression of a sentence comes out.
I'm always awake this early. It's peaceful.
Her wings spread out, her feathers puffing up. She plants her hands on her waist and gives me a scolding glance.
I think the real question is, why are you sleeping at the table? It's so hard and uncomfy. No wonder you mutter in your sleep.
I wasn't sleeping. It was just a quick cat nap.
The glue only gets more stern as she flaps her wings and hovers off the ground. Soft bursts of wind kiss my face, my only warning.
You were buried in your research again.
Drat, those stacks of books and papers on the table always make it nothing but obvious.
Weren't you?
Even now, after all this time and all these changes, she's still like this. At least I can latch onto it and take some small comfort.
Can't get anything past you.
I give a fake sigh and let it dissolve into a smile.
I was.
There's not much else I can say that wouldn't just extend to theatrics. Zion exhales deeply, lying back on the ground. Instead of stern, she looks worried.
I know it means a lot to you, and I don't want you to stop or anything, but you always get so cranky when you put too much of yourself into it. It's sad to watch when it happens. At least get some good sleep so you're well rested. Please?
She stares up at me, hands folded and pleading. There's warmth in her eyes, as there always has been. Yet they aren't the same eyes I grew to cherish. They're different now. And they've been different for a long time.
Come here, little one.
I liken her forward with my finger. She doesn't hesitate to come in for an embrace. Nuzzling in close, she squeezes me tight.
You know I get anxious real easy.
I know. Sorry for making you worry.
This baby is so cute. Look at her. I've had her, bringing her with me as I do my best to rock and forth in this chair. Yes, I can take comfort in the small reminders of the past, but they'll never be the same as when it was. Existing like this, hugging her like this. Perhaps it's important to love it, despite everything, but it rings so hollow. I wish it wouldn't.
Say, Zion?
Her voice is muffled. She looks up and only hair and a pair of eyes. The rest of her still buried in my clothes.
Do you remember that story we like? The one you used to always tell me?
She tilts her head.
No. You and Yellowstone are the ones who tell stories. That's how it's always been.
No, not always.
Maybe I've told it to you before then. It's about an animal, right? Some kind of bird?
Clutching her head, she tries to squeeze the information out of herself, but just ends up looking painful.
I think you mentioned something about it recently, but I don't remember. I'm sorry.
So surprising, but it doesn't keep it from being any less disappointing.
No need to apologize.
Pardon me, Jesus Christ. I bring her back in close. If she saw the look in my face, it would only worry her more.
Occasionally, things just slip our minds. It's just something that happens over time.
How old are these three again? I'm pretty sure Yellowstone's at least a couple decades. Maybe definitely more.
For the love of God, Yellowstone! If you're gonna bellyache about needing help with the cleaning, then the least you can do is sweep up the soot from your head, Kano!
I drag my fingers all on the floorboard. A chalky grey powder sticks to it. It's like something sprinkling ashes from the fireplace.
You're yelling at air. She and Zion went out to find trouble hours ago.
Yosemite's sitting over at the table in an unusual spot, because there's literally nothing better for her to do. But instead of flipping for a book or scribbling down notes in a handwriting I cannot read for the life of me, she's just sitting there, her hands clasped together and resting against her nose.
I'm yelling at her in the general sense. It's a hypothetical yell.
It's not hypothetical if you say it out loud.
And it's not a Saturday morning if you aren't being a pain in the ass.
You love it.
I tolerate it.
I know this is not a romance, but I really badly want to see these two kiss. Come on, enemies to lovers, it would be great.
Coffee?
Please.
By the time I'm over at the table, she's already has a steaming hot cup of coffee for me, straight from the percolator.
I need this.
I flop down in the chair. When I stare into the cup, it's thick and black and swirling with just a little bit of sugar. She remembered. Here's to you, Yorvagorn tree.
Exasperating morning.
Every day of my life is exasperating. But this...
Take a quick gulp from my mug. If I don't breathe, it doesn't burn as bad.
This has the added bonus of being my day off.
Isn't that normally a good thing?
You would think so, right? But this also happens to be the day my boss is visiting.
The chatty woman who seems far more respectable than you? I assumed you two got along.
It's hard to get angry at that remark, even if it is chock full of sass. Jessie is absolutely more respectable than me.
Oh yeah, she's a hoot. But her mercy isn't eternal. Which means no messes, no coyotes, and I can't believe life has led me to a point where I actually have to say this out loud. No park girls.
Yosemite raises an eyebrow, but I don't detect any of her usual smirk behind it.
Is that really what you call us?
What, you want to be a ghost forever?
Her eyes sink down, scanning the permanent mess of research cluttering the table. A jealous smirk sprouts on her lips.
No, I suppose not.
Anyway, I was hoping to get Yellowstone's help with tidying up this sty, but seeing as she's not here...
I took what's left of my coffee and slam it down with a satisfying clink.
You'll be helping instead.
You just decided that, huh?
Sure did. Not like you're actually doing anything productive.
And she isn't. Usually you count, unless you count staring at a wall as productive. Just been daydreaming all morning. I expect at least a little pushback, but aside from a dirty look, which, let's be real, is just her face, she starts organizing her research into nice orderly stacks.
I'll help you out, but only so Yellowstone doesn't have more work to do. Try to tell me how to clean, and I'll use your hat as a rag.
She sounds utterly defeated while saying it. Did I stumble my way into taming her? Life really is full of happy accidents.
That's what I like to hear. See how peaceful things can be when you just bend to my will.
I say it jokingly, but you know what? It's true. My life would be so much easier if everyone just listened to what I said.
Mm-hmm.
Of her books and papers now compartmentalized, she places them inside the cardboard box that takes up half of the table, then lugs it over to the bookshelf. That's it? Just, No snide comments about squashing my grown ego. No sweeping declarations of hypocrisy. Must be enough there.
You feeling okay today? If you're running a fever, you should tell me now so I can report any fires before they get out of hand.
She walks past me and takes to the sink, not even bothering to turn on the faucet. She wrings out the water from her hair and turns it down, and lets it run over the dirty plates in the sink. Say they're revolting, I guess, but I'm way beyond the point of thinking too hard about this kind of stuff.
I feel fine.
Turning away from me, she goes back to the dishes, brushing me off with a wave of her hand.
I have my doubts, but assuming you know how to use a broom, get the area by the couch. That part of the floor is where Yellowstone sleeps.
Now that she mentions it, I don't think I've ever seen Yellowstone sleep on the couch. There's so many guards with the ferocity of a Rottweiler, leaving poor Yellowstone to wiggle on the floor like a slug in her sleeping bag. It really almost makes me feel bad for all those times I've kicked her out of bed. Almost. I head for the closet and fish out the broom, dragging the brushes along the floorboards as I head to the couch. It's really the most efficient way to clean the maximum amount of space. Oh shit, it's the baby! It's baby number 2. It doesn't take long for Pup to take notice of it. He crouches into his front paws, his tail wagging in the air as the broom skids around like prey.
Don't you even!
It was my first mistake, because when I yank the broom back, he pounces. He lands on the head of the broom. I feel the weight immediately, unable to even tug it without pulling him along too.
No.
As if challenging me, he bites into the brush.
You little gremlin!
Try to pull it away from him, but he just takes that as his cue to pull it towards himself.
Let go.
I pull. He pulls. Amazing, he baited me into playing tug of war. I bet it was the plan all along. But I would love to spend more time with the goodest boy in the whole world. I decide to end it there and then and there. I drop the broom and walk over, picking him up by the scruff of his neck.
God, you're getting so heavy.
It's like he knows it too, because he just pants happily when he Willy dangles there. He really has grown since I first stationed here, but I could easily pick him up in one hand. Now it's a bit of a workout.
Bad.
He licks his chops.
But also, so good.
I'm too much of a sucker doing actual scolding, but at the same time he's too much of a liability right now. Jessie would have my head and probably do the decapitation herself if she saw him. I carry him to the door and toss him onto the porch, slamming the door shut before he can charge back in. You just have to stay outside until the visitor's over. Aww. There it is, the waterworks. The saddest taboo in the world. Not long after, he starts scratching at the door.
Is leaving him out there a good idea? What if he goes to the campground?
Great. He'll love the attention. You should have seen him when he was down there last week. All the kids were begging their parents to take him home.
That's a bad thing?
It's a thing. Humans are hardwired to love the cute little fuzzy wuzzies.
Pup scratching at the door stops. Yosemite freezes, dropping a plate in the sink. It doesn't shatter, but I wish it did, because at least it would end the silence. Her head turns. The only word I can use to describe the look on her face would be concerned. I cough because any noise will ease my discomfort at this point.
Anyway, it's not a big deal. Just until Jessie leaves.
Yosemite rolls her eyes and shrugs off the encounter. I make the walk of shame back to the broom and start to sweep.
So tell me, Ranger, why is she coming? Doesn't she typically call you over the radio to check in?
She said she just wanted to catch up. Lord knows why when she has 1,000 more important things she could be doing.
The dust on the floor has barely moved. It's just more smeared around now. Damn broom must be defective.
Maybe she considers you important.
I stop.
For her sake, I hope she doesn't. I'm just gonna keep letting her down.
It's already happened more times than I can count. This last time, she was the only thing standing between me and unemployment. I still have no idea how she manages to get the lawsuits swept under the rug.
Knowing her, though, I'm sure she'll just keep poking her nose into my business.
Don't take it for granted. You might not always have someone like that.
Yosemite doesn't stop washing the dishes this time, but there's an unfamiliar weight behind her words, a tingle of wistfulness.
Yeah, I know.
It's weird. No matter how hopeless I became, Jessie was the only person who constantly insisted this job No matter how hopeless I became, Jessie was the only person who consistently insisted this job had any value, that I have value. I don't know if she's right, but sometimes it was just enough to actually make me feel like I was important.
Since when did you start giving good advice?
Since before you were born. But you're just too stubborn to listen.
Nah, that can't be right.
Collage of muffled stomps and voices practically breaks down the door. Such an unfocused racket, it sounds like a middle school marching band just descended upon the porch. It's baby, God, I've already lost track of which baby numbers they all are. They're all baby. Ilson's voice carries a tune from outside. My ears are already bracing for impact. She swings the door open, striking the wall with the doorknob. The dishes on the counter rattle.
I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day.
She marches into the cabin, caked from head to toe with dry mud, and tracking it behind her.
I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away.
They're so cute. Zion trots in behind her, singing the rest of the verse. She's also drenched in mud. Everywhere from her angelic wings to her pretty gown. At least she has a decency to fly instead of getting it on the floor, though.
Can't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up so early in the morn.
She stomps around the room, spraying the gospel of mud from floorboard to floorboard. Zion follows behind her happily. I can feel the scowl forming across my lips, my eyes twitching.
Can't you hear the whistle blowing?
Finally, once the trail of muddy footprints spiraling around the cabin, Yellowstone makes her way to me and leans in.
Dying to blow your horn.
She pulls down in the air twice, like a train whistle. I think she's done. There's a long pause as Yellowstone waits for something. Maybe it's a smile, or maybe she's just waiting for me to crack.
What's the matter, Ranger? Ain't you gonna say howdy?
You.
Yellowstone!
You.
My voice is a low growl.
Yellowstone?
Her voice is a scared whimper.
Do you realize what you have just done?
I grip her shoulders, digging my fingernails into her clothes. She shrinks back, and I feel like a giant. This fear swims in her eyes.
Did I sing too loud?
Look.
My hands move from her shoulders to her head. I twist her to each spot on the floor that mud is stuck to, forcing her to face her destruction that she has wrought.
Oh, that ain't a big dealio. I can clean that up lickety-split.
Lickety-split, huh? How long is that? It better be seconds because my boss will be here any minute.
Oh, jeez. I had no idea. Honest, I'm real sorry, Eve. Let me try and make it up to you.
As good at it as I am, it's hard to stay angry at her for long. With how often she cleans this place, I know she didn't do it on purpose. All she's guilty of is being an airhead, and getting uppity with an airhead just makes me a tyrant. I sigh, down from fury to mild annoyance. Progress.
Don't worry about it. We'll clean it up together.
Looking over her, it's hard not to at least smirk. You ever see a teenager fall off a skateboard and eat dirt? It's kind of like that.
Look at you. You're filthy. How do you even get mud in some of these places?
I dab my finger on my tongue and wipe some of the grime off her volcano. The brat groans and pouts about it, but by the time I'm done, I can see my reflection.
Same goes for you, Zion. What on earth did you get up to? You look like a derelict.
For as much grief as I give Yellowstone for her butchering of the English language, she's not trying to bring it back to the 19th century like Yosemite.
Well, we were out picking mushrooms.
And you avoided the poisonous ones, right?
Yosemite squats down, wringing water out of her hair and onto her jacket, as if polishing a plate or a car. She wipes the smudges off Zion's face and makes an attempt to get some of the mud crusted out of her hair.
Yellowstone almost ate one, but then I told her what you told me.
That ego death stuff gives me the heebie-jeebies.
So what exactly are the mushrooms in Yosemite National Park?
But afterwards, we decided that plain old mushrooms just weren't enough. So we decided to make mud pies.
Oh no.
It was very exciting.
Yosemite's eyes are smithery and the daggers are being sharpened as she looks at Yellowstone.
And you let this happen?
Sure did. We even used my head as an oven so the pies would get nice and warm.
I shove Yosemite's volcano to shut her up. The ridges scrape my hand. Hey Fiona, what's up? What's poppin'? How's it hanging?
You already dug your grave, don't give the eulogy too.
Yosemite's ire has been delayed for now. She sighs and returns her focus to Zion.
Honestly, Zion, it's perfectly okay if you want to play, but does it have to be so dirty? It's unsightly.
Unsightly? Please. Since when did you become Victorian?
I snort. This girl is the weirdest hang-up.
I'm not happy with it either, but she's just a kid. Let her have her fun.
I did my nails and getting some art drawn. How about you? I'm streaming. I feel like that one bit's obvious. What you drawing? What's poppin'?
Don't call her that.
Somebody snaps at me like a cornered dog, with me and Yellowstone flinch. When she looks back at Zion, all is well. She gives her a smile and brushing her fingers through Zion's hair.
Ignore her. You're a beautiful and proper young lady. Like you've always been. Just be sure to act like it, okay?
Yosemite's smile looks like it's starting to strain, forming dimples I've never seen before. Yellowstone looks away, frowning as she bends down to pick up the broom. Go save for art for college. I love that for you. Did they just let you draw anything for your college course? You've already managed to finagle a bunch of shit from our campaigns. For Zion can only silently beg me for help. Sorry kid, but I don't think Yosemite's gonna let me win this one. Finally she settles on Yosemite and tries to force her own smile. Her desperation for this moment to end is practically carved into her eyes.
Okay. I'll try to be more careful and not get dirty when playing from now on.
And hey Peony, look at this fucking baby! He's so small! She pats Zion on the head and stands up, massaging the bridge of her nose like she was just stuck with a migraine.
Sweetie.
Yo, let's go. Also, yeah, look at they're all so cute, I love them. Zion snaps to attention.
Be a dear and dust off the top of the bookshelf for me, please. It's the easiest for you to reach.
Yes, of course. I'll get right on that.
Because I live in a nightmare, Zion plucks a feather from one of her wings, then flies up to the top of the bookshelf to use it as a duster. Yosemite lumbers over to the sink, returning to the dishes and leaving me and Yellowstone alone in the middle of the cabin. I lean in and whisper as she uses the broom to swat at the dust under the couch.
Why do I feel like I just witnessed something kind of gross?
She whispers back.
'Cause Yosemite's got it bad.
Has what?
Yosemite feigns a cough from across the room.
I'll see to my own as I deem fit, Ranger. Now get to cleaning before the better version of you arrives.
Yeah, she's not wrong about that last bit, but I resent that first half. I've been here long enough to at least have some say in how exactly we play house.
Mama Bear Syndrome.
Yellowstone flinches, finishes her secret, and slides off of the brim. It's none of my business. I won't make it my business. But if I were to make it my business, which I'm not, there would be an uneasy tickle crawling down my neck. Who knows though? It wouldn't be the first time a hunch ended up being the common cold. We all get to business and go about cleaning the cabin, much to my endless relief. Getting the mud out wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. That's hardwood for you. Floor as God intended. As sure as the sun will swallow the earth, Jessie arrives right on time. 3 knocks clatter at the front door.
Knock, knock.
We all freeze up. 3 sets of eyes look at me.
Crap, it's Jessie.
We can see that.
Technically, we can hear it.
If her perfume is as strong as last time, we might be able to smell it too.
We really need to have a talk with Yellowstone soon.
Sorry for being a minute late. Ernie locked the keys in the truck and it was just a whole big thing.
She grunts and I hear the porch creak.
Could you come open the door for me? I'm carrying a lot of stuff and it's actually
Another grunt.
a little heavy.
Her muffled voice sounds pathetic on the other side of the door. Sorry, Jessie, you'll have to wait a bit longer.
Sorry, I'm naked.
You're a terrible liar.
They're all spoon kids. I know. I love this game so much. They're all adorable, and I'm rooting for Yosemite and Eve to get together. They got an Emily's Lovers thing going on, though supposedly the devs claim this isn't a romance, so I don't think we'll ever get to see it.
And you're just terrible. Now, go disappear or whatever it is you things do.
3 girls come together to lock hands. Then grabs a fine strand of muddy hair and whines.
We're still so dirty.
Let's just splash around in the river and wash it all off.
And then we still love. I know, right? I listen. The final chapter isn't out yet, so we don't know for sure. I doubt it'll happen, but I'm silently praying.
I don't think so. You'll be using the campground showers like respectable.
All 3 of them vanish right in the middle of Yosemite's lecturing. A gust of wind rushes through my hair. Silence has never been so therapeutic.
Please. Gravity is kicking my butt.
Coming.
I spin over to the door and open it for her, just in time too, because Jessie looks like she's about to be crushed by the weight of all the grocery bags she's holding.
Hi, Eve.
Finger muscles might collapse. The things I make this poor woman endure. I know, right? The only comfort I think I can give her is a pitiful smile. I take half of the bags and balance them in my arms as I wobble to the table.
You're an angel.
That's a first.
Also, on the enemies to lovers thing, we've already had confirmation Eve is the lesbian. So like, I'm hoping. We drop all the bags on the table and catch our breath. Produce and snacks slide out and across it.
Whew. My eyes just about bulged out of my head when you faxed me your grocery list. You must be a hungry gal.
I'm bulking.
And by bulking, I mean running my ass off so Yellowstone's cooking doesn't lead to the growth of said ass. Seriously, she has so many dishes she wants to try out and I can't keep up.
Well, whatever you're doing, I'm just glad it's making you happy.
She flops down in the chair. Yosemite usually sits in and takes off her hat. Yeah, Yosemite usually sits in and takes off her hat so she can fan herself with it.
Oh, wasn't aware I gave off the impression of someone who was happy.
I slump down in my chair and rest my chin on the table.
Not on the outside. We haven't gotten that far yet. But I have reason to believe that on the inside, your heart is at least half full.
Quit with the poetry and spill the dirt you have on me.
Muscles tense up. She couldn't possibly know anything about the girls, could she? Jessie slips a stack of folded papers out of her breast pocket.
This right here,
She slices it through the air.
it's a stack of complaints.
Campers couldn't take the heat, huh?
These are all from the rangers who work the station across the clearing.
What a surprise.
Oh, are the hacks upset because they can't do their jobs right?
Put in my best baby voice, and honestly, I think it's hilarious, but Jessie must think otherwise because she gives me a flat glare.
Let's read a couple, shall we?
All of my eyes rip open one of the bags of teriyaki jerky Jessie bought. She gives a distinguished cough as she unfolds the papers and begins reading.
Ranger Adams is highly competent at her job.
More than them, at least.
I answer with half-chewed jerky still in my mouth.
However, her confrontational demeanor and rigid personality often puts her at odds with the other rangers.
Rigid? That's a new one.
Jessie scoffs as she moves on to the next file.
On various occasions, Ranger Adams has insisted that I am incapable of properly doing my job, and in one such instance, implied a threat of bodily harm against me by making a strangling motion when she believed my back to be turned.
Okay, that skid mark is a trust fund baby. He's only here because his old man rubbed elbows with the last secretary up in Washington.
This one is my favorite.
She reads off the next one in her stack.
Despite only working Mondays through Fridays, Ranger Adams routinely comes into the station on weekends to file paperwork that is not her own and investigate office supplies to make sure they are, and I quote, up to regulation standard.
She's pretty similar to Highway Blossom's protagonist, but I still love her.
They were printing out fire permits on yellow paper, Jessie. Yellow paper. I know things are always tight around here, but I couldn't just let them do that.
She takes off her hat and fans herself with it, strands of her hair blowing past her smug face. Instead of saying anything, she just smiles.
So what? You here to scold me then?
At first. But you know those rate how we're doing sheets?
The ones that no one ever fills out?
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
Her breast pocket, she takes out a stack of paper. This one is way thicker though, like a deck of cards. She slays it over to me.
Pissed off that many people, huh?
Give yourself more credit. These are all compliments.
What? That can't be right.
She's teasing me. That has to be it. I spider crawl my fingers to the paper, but stop just shy of grabbing it to read. No one actually has the willpower to tolerate my finger waggling them for more than 5 minutes. Maybe here or there, but only on the rare occasion that they're actually interested, or if they're pretending to be polite. Ripped out by the MC. What? I have to. My job to nag them into safety, so that maybe they can take care of themselves and the planet around them, maybe. Then Riz. Yes, Eve's impeccable Riz.
Every single one of these praises you by either name or description. There's a few bits here and there about scaring small children, but generally speaking, they love you.
Aww. She claps her hands together and rests her chin on the back of them. The look in her face isn't smug anymore. It's scarier. It's scarier. That genuine glint of warmth in her eyes. It's pride. It's like my spelling of these names. Haha. Makes me uncomfortable. Not because of the crushing duality of obligation or anything. Nothing like that. Crushing duty of obligation. Because if what's written on these sheets is real, that would imply that the Eve who is here now is, well, different than the one who was exiled to this cabin.
What they love is a ranger in a big hat who can do the whole shtick and gimmick with them. I'm a walk-around character in a theme park.
I slide the papers back to her, but she pushes them right back on.
What you are is someone people can rely on and learn from. Encapsulating ideals doesn't make you a fraud, Eve. You don't pick fights for no reason. You're honest. That's something people respond to. And there's not a soul alive who doesn't have an opinion on honesty.
Yo, thanks for the follow. What's up? Hello, mysterious stranger who has joined. Love it, love it. Love it to have you. You cannot... Hold on. Yeah, she, her. I listen, Spoots always asks if they can have them, and I don't trust that now. They've stolen far too many people's pronouns. But yeah, she, her. Thanks for asking.
That's why I love these. Even the complaints. They tell me that you're showing the rest of the world what I already know about you.
You cannot have them, no. They're my pronouns. That's something I don't think I'm ready to believe.
I think you put too much stock in everyone.
And I don't think you put in enough. Try having faith in your fellow man for once.
She can generalize it as that, but I don't think it's my fellow man I'm not ready to have faith in. Looking down at this stack of papers is like looking down at the Bible. Thick, daunting, and tells me more about myself than I would like to know.
I'll let you keep those.
Jessie shoots me a smirk that turns into a grimace. Her hand springs to her back as she lets out a pained grunt. I wince as she tries to soothe the pain. She makes the discomfort vivid enough for me to feel it through osmosis.
How's that back of yours doing?
Are you already plugging my Discord? Actually, that makes that. I just remembered I have not plugged my Discord here. I really should. I'll do it at some point. I can't be asked right now.
So kind of you to ask.
I don't think I want to. I want to be man. I mean, that's some pretty trans behavior. That's a pretty trans talk. I'm just saying. All she could do is groan. Her upper body looks as stiff as a plank.
Let's get you over to the couch.
The noises. I move to get out of my chair, but she waves her hand as she waves her hand at me to stay away.
Let it happen. Let it happen.
The fuck's this going? The whole dramatic command somehow makes its way through her teeth. I swear, sometimes she's just stubborn as me. After a few moments of her gritting her teeth and willing her way through the worst of it, she collapses in the chair and catches her breath.
You're going to overwork your way back into the wheelchair, you know?
My friends keep calling me an egg. That's some pretty egg behavior. As an ex-egg, I can say that's some pretty egg behavior.
I see my doctor has gotten to you too, huh?
Doesn't take a PhD to give common sense. Seriously, just take this surgery, Jessie.
And be out for a month? I don't think so. What would everyone do without me?
I don't have to be. Yeah, I don't know if you know this. You don't have to be a man. No one's forcing you. You can just not. There's a big secret. They don't want you to know that, but it's true. You can just not be. Yeah, what's stopping you? No, you don't have to. I don't get what's not clicking here. The man doesn't want you to know this, but you can just not be a man anymore. It's that simple.
We'd manage.
What? The gift shop?
See, Peony gets it. Doesn't even take a second for her to correct the record.
I'm sorry, that was really mean. I love you all. You all do such wonderful work.
Look at you. You can't even claim a small victory without stressing out over it.
She whines like a teenager.
I know. I blame all this paperwork. It's a lot of sitting down at desks, and my back just never took to it after the promotion.
I don't want to take away from my judgment. I don't know if you get this, right? But if you don't identify with your gender, you were assigned at birth, that makes you trans. There's no big secret. If you don't like being the gender you're assigned at birth, you can change it, and that makes you trans now. It's not complicated. Also, if you are interested in joining the Discord, scroll down. I believe it should be underneath the stream. I think anyway, I set that up fucking like a year or two ago. Oh, sweet. Welcome. I'll check on it later. But yes, welcome to the Discord. What's up?
I'm filing more reports now than I ever did working patrol down in Santa Monica.
Thank you, Peony. 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 Thank you, Peony. She and her here. Of course. What's stopping you? You were. I declare you. I as a professional trans person, declare you a she/her. Bye, Peony. Well, you have a trans seal of approval. I declare you a she/her. Now that I believe this woman's existence, well, that I find harder to take. After getting crippled into an early retirement, she trains her way out of borderline paralysis, then takes a job with the Park Service. She's not certifiable even.
Just try taking it a little easier. You're not getting any younger.
Bye, Peony.
Hey! What's that supposed to mean? My 30s aren't sunsetting just yet.
Of course not. It's more like golden hour. Yeah.
Her back must be feeling a hell of a lot better, because now she's clasping her chest, wounded by the truth.
Oof. Even your platitudes are cutting.
I thought you liked my honesty.
Don't you, man? Left the trans woman. Yeah, see? we're making progress here. This is the trans agenda. I'm telling you all the secrets they don't want you to know.
Not when I'm on the other end of it.
Jessie pouts to herself, then sighs. She whispers something I'm pretty sure she wants me to hear. Anyway.
Work in progress, Jessie. Work in progress.
That's really gonna make me... God forbid. Yeah, God forbid. Oh, God. Truly, you're dastardly. She twirls her hat and slips it back on, then cautiously raises it up from the chair.
What? You're leaving already? You just got here.
Just because it's your day off doesn't mean it's mine. I can't stay here and chit-chat forever.
Stretching, she lifts her hands over her head and lets all the slipped discs and nerves crack back into place. She gives me a chirpy little smile.
Unless you say please.
I slide out of my chair, walk over, grab her shoulders, then shove her towards the door.
Yeah. Please leave.
She chuckled as I escort her. Honestly, I am sad to see her go so soon. Jessie may be the only person in this entire park that I haven't pushed away for the years, even as I'm physically pushing her away from me. She actually cares about me. God knows why.
Oh, before I forget, what's on your agenda today?
She stops at the door. A strong wind blows into the cabin. I look off into the distance and see, instead of morning birds fluttering through the blue sky, see a stroke of dark grey forming on the horizon. Are you winning? Yes, I'm winning. You see, the anime women are still very cute, and we've already furthering the trans agenda by transing our dear blossomed lamb here. We've transed her gender already. She has now joined our ranks. It's all over for her.
Looks like it's fixing to rain, so I guess I'll go see if anyone needs help keeping the water out of their tents. Maybe drop by the station and make sure nothing is leaking.
The jesters over there probably would sooner let it flood than thank to put a bucket underneath a leak.
Yeah, don't do that.
She's see, we've already transferred gender. Look at us go.
They think I dropped by to chew you out? Take it easy on them for a few days, and if they ask, just say I made you cry.
There goes my agenda.
For Pete's sake, Eve! It's your day off. Get some hobbies.
I stand in stunned silence as she marches over to the truck.
I have hobbies.
Cisgender urge to melt after having she/her pronouns used for me. Yeah, that's the most egg thing I think someone's ever said. I'm gonna be honest, girl. I think you may be trans. Welcome to the club. Most of my followers are. Trans people in general, but usually in my experience, trans women seem to just sort of magnetized together. I guess because that's so cis. Yes, but so you're so cis as well. You're so, you know, straight. Probably. Yeah. I guess if you're no man, that is. But hey, I mean, oh, my friend is straight now. I'm sorry to tell you that. But hey, I'm pretty sure being trans gets you more oppression points than being gay does. So upgrade? Question mark. I have hobbies. She climbs into the cab and starts the ignition. I lean out the door and she shouts over the engine.
Coffee doesn't count. Go read that book you ordered. Should be with the groceries.
Book.
Totally cis, me and my they them pronouns. Yeah, totally cis behavior from Swoots over here. When did I order a book? All I faxed her was my grocery list.
Ta-ta for now. I'll radio you later.
Jessie twinkles her fingers out the window and I salute, and salutes me a goodbye. As I watch her drive out of the clearing, I feel more confused. She said plenty of confusing things this morning. The biggest being that crap about me being someone people can rely on, but that still doesn't explain what book she was talking about. What if I become a straight white girl and terrorize the year 7? Oh no. I see absolutely nothing wrong with this. Become terror incarnate. So the book she was talking about. Truck coughs and wheezes down the clearing and into the dirt road. It climbs over the bend in the horizon. When it's out of sight, I step back into the cabin. My gaze shifts over to the table, and in my head, I sift through the groceries. It's vague, but I can make out the rectangular shape of a book pressed against one of the bags. Weird, really weird. And what's been a rarity since the day I was first stationed here, the cabin is silent. Even if the girls are just in the other room, it's the first time in a while I don't have curious or prying eyes on me. The whole space feels dead and empty. Maybe a while back I would have liked it, but now it just feels unnerving. Do I know how to... I don't have permission to finish my Celeste pray for... Of course you do. You now also have permission to buy a Blahaj, play Fallout New Vegas, and I think there was another one, but I forgot what their other memes were. I haven't looked at a trans femme slideshow in a few days now. I'm losing my touch. It's all over. It's all over for me. We played Fallout New Vegas. Well, shit, you're already most of the way there. I haven't finished Celeste, to be fair. See, my favorite game of all time. See? Trans women are always like, oh, but there was no signs. And then we... I'm sorry. Go to the table and unpack an entire produce aisle from the bag, and sure enough, a paperback is waiting for me near the bottom. So new and unread, the cover still has a gleam to it. Now there are so many signs. Exactly. Just from I wish I was trans. Like, you can just do that. No, there's no... Listen. Like, free dresses for funny. Haha, isn't this so funny? Listen. Listen, the NHS doesn't want you to know this. But you don't have to be miserable to be trans. You could just want to be a girl. And then you get to be one. It's great. Everyone's trying to keep that from you, but it's true. Trust me, I've cracked the code. The Proust effect, the senses of doorways to lost memories. Pick it up and flip it over. Doesn't take more than reading the first sentence in the summary to know that it was Yosemite's. This is a Yosemite purchase. Dear girl, let's fucking go. Exactly. Of course it is. Of course it is. Who else but her? All she reads is pseudoscience and the history that she tries to mix the two till they form theory salad. Still, Yosemite isn't someone who wastes their time without reason. There's always a logic to it, as warped as it may end up being. So it makes me wonder what kind of mind labyrinth is she exploring right now. To put a finger point on it, why didn't she mention it? My dreams as a girl who lives in the woods of nature and wildlife. Just go and boom, you'll live there for you, absolutely slay queen. I mean, what's stopping you? Run away into the you can run into the forest and live amongst the trees. I guess that's technically what this game's about. Then up to the bathroom turns as the door squeaks. I drop the book as fast as it may, so fast it may as well be my college philosophy class.
Rub-a-dub-dub! Thanks for the scrub.
I only understood half of that, but you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Yosemite. Sorry for getting messy.
You're very welcome, sweetie. Just be more careful next time.
Look how absolutely fucking adorable these babies are. God, we're in episode fucking 3 and I'm already gushing over how cute these babies are. Oh my heart. And Zion and Yellowstone in the matching shirts. I also forgot to say hi, Spitz. Yeah, how could you forget to say hi to Spitz? Horrible. I'm sure they're offended. I don't know if they're offended, but I'll be offended for them. The three park girls prance out of the bathroom, not a single speck of mud to be found on Yellowstone or Zion. Instead of the outfits I've gotten so used to seeing them wear, they both wear matching oversized t-shirts. An I Love Zion National Park shirt for Yellowstone, and an I Love Yellowstone National Park shirt for Zion. Actually sobbing right now, see? They're literally sobbing. Transing my gender. It's a very lengthy process. It's so disgustingly adorable my body has a physical reaction to it. My heart is melting or something. I hate it, but also I kinda love it. Yosemite seems to have a similar reaction. He said her gushing is focused more or less on Zion, because she watches with a dopey smile until our eyes meet, then she just frowns.
What's wrong with you? Just see a ghost?
Spoots, I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're thinking. I've already warned her. You will not. Do not even think about it. I'm still hovering over the table like a weirdo. The book now laying lopsided on the table. Totally not suspicious. Eve, your sniffing is both subtle and inconspicuous. Clearing my throat, I slink away from the scene of the crime. Hopefully it doesn't look as suspicious as I feel. What are you not thinking about? I kid you. How am I supposed to be a gender fey if you warn people? It's because I'm trying to stop you. They're going to ask what your they're going to ask if they can have your pronouns. And then they're going to steal them. So if they ask, do not tell them your pronouns. You may not have my pronouns either. Clearing my throat, I slink away from the scene of the crime. Oh, it doesn't look as suspicious as I feel.
Sure did. 4 of them, in fact. Every day.
I'm going to avoid this conversation, so just roll with this, okay? Yosemite's eyes may both of us taking mirrored steps in our new positions. Me to the couch, her toward the table.
Oh, who's the 4th?
So I need to find me a she, her with pronouns to rob. I mean, you could exchange your pronouns for different ones. It's just if you want multiple sets, you gotta take them. You gotta commit a robbery, there's only so many pronouns to go around. But why? But why? What are you hiding, Ranger? I should have a pair of finger guns and click my tongue like a smooth criminal I know I absolutely am not.
The one I see in the mirror.
Doesn't matter, just let the conversation die, you entitled shrub. Her brow furrows. She stares down at the table for a long time, squinting as she focuses in on something. It has to be the book. She's too savvy for her own good. She knows I saw it, and now I'm going to get a lecture for not minding my own business. It's fair not telling me she was ordering it to begin with.
Your self-deprecation is boring. I'm starting to think it's the only gimmick you have.
It's cute that you think I can hide. You can hide things from me. Be sure your sins will find you out. Because if they don't, I will. So when do I get to the next character customization screen? That is a very long and tedious process, unfortunately. You can change everyone's dialogue options, but it involves the coming out quest, which is you might get it's really RNG based, and released based on a lot of your based on a lot of like your character relationships, the other NPCs already. Sometimes it goes really well, and the quest just auto completes the moment you choose the dialogue option, and other times you have to commit murder. You know, it's a toss up, but that's the only way to change the dialogue everyone uses for you. Love you, murder. I'm sure you do. Can you come questing with me? Of course, let's go. We can both commit murder. It'll be great. Oh god, here it comes.
What are these?
Picks up the folded stacks of visitor surveys Jessie left here and waves them through the air. An audible groan slips out of me. Somehow this is even worse than if she figured out I saw the book.
Visitor surveys. Jessie thought they were important enough for me to see.
And I suppose you're ecstatic for the new fireplace kindling.
Not today. Everything in that stack involves yours truly.
What did you do this time?
A good job, apparently.
I'll scoff while I say it, because if I'm being honest, I still don't buy it. Maybe we just got a weird batch of visitors, or maybe those surveys are so layered with sarcasm it flew over Jessie's head. It's nice enough for it to happen. She's nice enough for that to happen. Whatever it is, it's not me. Go wear a skirt to celebrate. Let's go! Let's fucking go! Yosemite scrambles to unfold the survey. Her eyes scan across the paper, going from side to side as she reads from the top to bottom. When she does, her ears twitch and when she's done, her ears twitch and she perks up.
Eve, this is positive, glowing even.
Yeah, I'll have this skirt for cis reasons. Of course. It's incredibly cisgender to own multiple skirts and cross-dress, quote unquote. You know, for the joke. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Totally cisgender.
I'll take your word for it.
Once I've had time to digest everything, I start going through all of them. I'll start going through all of them. Right now, the idea of reading them reminds me of hearing my voice come out of a phone or video. Forces a specific kind of objectivity I'm not ready for. The Yosemite is ready for it. She laps that stuff up, flipping from page to page, devouring each one faster than I'm convinced she can actually read. She stops at one. A warm smile, untainted by her ego or usual sarcasm, spreads across her face. A flushed red crosses her cheeks, and her pebble-like freckles flicker. Her oh my fucking god! I've already been reading this shit for an hour. My brain is already mush. A flushed red crosses her cheeks, and her pebble-like freckles glitter beneath the red. It reminds me of a vivid sunset.
I'm keeping this one.
No, if these two don't kiss, I'm getting very upset. You have to repick a name too. Oh lord, that's the best bit. You get to change your name. You get given one at the start of the game. You get to change it to whatever the fuck you want. It's great.
Those are official files that are technically property of the federal government.
And now this one is an official document from my records. Ha ha ha!
Yosemite's head bobs to her fake laugh. She rolls the one into a paper tube and slides it into her jacket. The rest she puts down on the table. I was hating my name still though. A very cis thing, of course. But hey, you get to choose a new one! And you get to make it whatever the fuck you want. It's great. A lot of cis people can do that too, but I don't think any of them realize it. Like, you can just change it. I don't know where I'm not sure what the rules are where you live. I'm guessing England. But at the very least up here in Scotland, you can change it whenever. They're very lax about changing your name. I don't imagine it'd be much worse down in England. This entire time, Zion has been eyeing the groceries and pursing her lips, but she's been waiting for us to finish our conversation. Such a considerate little cherub.
Yellowstone, did you see? Miss Eve's mom brought groceries.
My what?
I sure did. It's a freight load of it too. Now I can whip up all those vegetarian recipes you wanted me to try. Thanks, Mama Eve.
Aww.
Thanks, Eve's mom.
He's so cute. There's so many options. Exactly. One piece of advice I'll say is don't rush it. Make sure you're completely happy with the name you're gonna go for before you choose it. But also don't stress too much about it. Whatever name you choose will eventually feel right. I cannot imagine being called anything but my chosen name now. Start thinking of names. Just go on like a common. If nothing comes up, just go on like baby name generator website or something and look for the most popular. You drive yourself mad going for every single one. Try and pick a bunch you like and start narrowing it down. And then when you've got a couple, like one or maybe more that you've got, ask your friends to try it out for you.
Let me stop you there. Jessie is my boss, not my mom. What kind of mental gymnastics did you do to get that idea?
The idea that she looks old enough to be my mum would cause what's left of Jessie's ego to crumble into dust if she heard this.
Oops, that's my bad.
Zion gives an apologetic bow.
She's so kind and gentle with you. I just assumed.
Like a drunk kicking open the church's door mid-sermon, Yellowstone barges back into the conversation.
Yeah, plus you talk to her like a cranky teenager.
Thank you, Yellowstone.
And she's taller than ya.
Thank you, Yellowstone.
And you wear the same clothes.
'Cause it's our uniform. What planet do you live on?
Meanwhile, Yosemite is doing a terrible job of trying to hide her amusement. Her puffed out cheeks the only thing keeping her cackling at bay.
Perhaps she's the better version of you after all.
I collapse on the couch, tossing my arms over my eyes as a makeshift sleep mask, waking me up when this tangent is over.
And the better version of you is the one on postcards. Now shove it.
Hopefully I was always a girlfriend and space name. My friends still call me that as a joke. Well, hey, I mean, you already got a decent option. If it means that much to you, you can just take it. God, the longer my stream goes on, the less I gain. The longer my stream goes on, the worse I get at talking. I've been talking for an hour straight. A little over that now. Friends still call me as a joke. Yeah. I mean, just find some you like, try and narrow it down. And you've already got a pretty decent one there. Again, you get to choose whatever you want. And you can try stuff out and change your mind. There are no rules. You can do whatever you want. People would like to pretend there's rules. There is not. Ugh. For a brief, wondrous moment, all is quiet, and I feel a weight pressed down on one of the couch cushions. I cover my eyes and get a view of one of the lesser-known sights in this park, Yosemite's back. She sits on the edge of the couch, close enough for me to catch the smell of lemongrass and pine needles that always accompanies her, but far enough for me not to kick her off for invading my personal space. Yeah, anarchy. Let's go. She can stay. For now.
So now that your little get-together with Jessie has been adjourned, how do you plan on wasting the rest of your day off?
It's only a waste if I spend it with you.
These two... This better be some enemies to lover shit. The final episode is not out yet, but when it gets here, if they don't at least get an implication that they've gotten together, I'm going to be semi-upset. Because there's such strong vibes.
Is that your answer then?
get the best shrug I can while lounging on a couch.
Boss lady told me not to piss off the bums at the station, so my plans for the day are dead. Might still go down to the camp and help people prep for the rain, though.
We do some journaling as I, Teddy, agonize over whether or not I want to read those surveys. After all, they aren't technically read until I read them. They aren't technically real until I read them.
Actually,
Yellowstone pokes her head over the back of the couch, crossing a volcano between me and Yosemite.
as much as I admire you not having any hobbies, because you're such a stickler for your work and all, I think there was something Zion wanted to bring up with you gals.
Why is everyone so stuck on this today? I have hobbies, lots of them. You'd need at least an entire hand to list them all off. Yellowstone waves over to Zion.
Don't be shy, cutie. They're gonna go gaga for the idea.
Yosemite and I pass unsure glances at each other. Pretty sure the last time I went gaga over something was when I was an infant. Twiddling her thumbs and staring at her feet, Zion floats to the front of us, as if being forced to introduce herself to the rest of the class. Oh, she's so cute! Oh my fucking god. This entire playthrough of this whole game is just me gushing over how cute Zion is. Especially as this is her episode. Yeah, that's all you're gonna be fucking hearing.
I didn't want to bring it up in case Miss Eve had any plans, but if it's okay, I'd like to make a suggestion.
Go ahead and say what you need to.
Yosemite's tone is light, airy, and oozing with adoration. She treats Zion with a kid's glove, while the rest of us get the boxing gloves instead.
Well, you've been living with us for some time now, Miss Eve. And while it was an adjustment, it's also been very wonderful. Things are much more lively now.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment, I think. Why does it feel like she's about to say, but it's just not working out?
Unfortunately, it's not often that the four of us get to spend time together. What with you and your work, Yosemite and her research.
Yellowstone spreading chill vibes.
Yes! And Yellowstone spreading her message of chill vibes.
Aww.
We all spend time together, but we don't spend time together. It can get rather lonesome.
How old is the child supposed to be? We have no fucking idea. I believe they're all technically immortal. Yellowstone, the one with the volcano on her head, I believe is at least a couple decades older than she looks. We have not gotten a canon age for any of them. Also, apparently Zion used to be a full-grown adult and now she's baby. So I have no idea how old any of them is supposed to be. Also, my cola's ran out and my throat is getting dry, so I'm gonna fill this glass with water. I'll be back in like 2 seconds. And I'm back. Water, this has been achieved. We're thriving.
Preach it, sister!
Yellowstone gives a sagely nod, but I'm not sure if I buy the illusion.
So, if it's not an issue, perhaps we can all spend today, well, together.
Aww. Ah, shit, I spilled my water. My glass immediately stuck to the fucking coaster. It's fine, it's only water. Oh, it's everywhere. Just a sec. Okay, actually, it's not that bad. It's fine, it's only water. Fuck off, spits. Over the course of her pitch, Zion's face has been getting progressively pinker. The monumental task of addressing it all at once, too much for her timid soul to bear. A stark contrast to the Rachelist, furious angel that delivered a hellish tongue lashing upon Yosemite not too long ago. But between all the stutters, gulps, and pauses, she still manages to spit the whole thing out. It's enough to make me at least humor the suggestions.
Did you have anything in mind?
Actually, there was...
How about a picnic?
Yosemite cuts Zion off and does it with a smile on her face.
I'm always waist down for a good old-fashioned picnic. We can have macaroni salad, P&P sandwiches,
PB and P?
peanut butter and pickles, you goofball.
Ugh.
Picnic is fine, but I veto whatever that is.
Based. Before Yellowstone can whine about it, Zion wiggles back into the discussion that she sparked.
Isn't it going to rain though? I was thinking we could do something inside. Board games, charades. That might be nice.
Baby. Zion trails off until her suggestions are quiet whispers. It must have been persuasive enough for Yellowstone, though, as she leaps to the rescue and lifts Zion back up.
You got a point. There was a storm brewing out there earlier. Let's just put that idea on ice for now and kick back here instead.
Nonsense. Zion loves picnics.
Yosemite, chill. As certain as she sounds for insisting on what someone else likes, the moment she says it, the look on her face is anything but. Her lips purse into a deep frown. She stares at Zion, and for all her pride and snobbery, Yosemite actually looks pathetic, like a scared child looking for an adult to comfort. Looking to an adult for comfort.
You do, don't you?
Zion stares up at her and their eyes lock. Any hesitation she had about picnics or rain melts away into a bright grin.
You're right. I love them.
Using her wings to propel her forward, Zion flutters into Yosemite's arms and the two of them tightly embrace. Yosemite closes her eyes and smiles, soaking in the moment of affection. Zion's eyes are wide open and far away. She's not smiling. I don't know about this. There's something off about this dynamic, but I'm not sure I'm able to grasp what it is. I look to Yellowstone hoping for some slight silent elaboration, but she just clicks her tongue and starts walking towards the kitchen. Maybe she's right about it being an intense case of Mama Bear syndrome. Who am I to say how park girls interact?
So what about the weather, genius? Or are you just craving soggy sandwiches?
Linear thinking. You're so good at it. We aren't limited to just eating within this park. There are other options. And I know just the place.
Sam looks up at her, most of her face buried in Yosemite's jacket.
You do?
Oh yes. In fact, it's your favorite place.
With a stretch and a yawn, I prop myself off the couch.
Guess that means it's time for another field trip.
My thinking may be linear, but if those paintings on the wall have been anything to go by, it sounds like the four of us will be pinging into Zion National Park. I can act like a grump all I want, but Zion National Park has been on my bucket list for a while. Maybe if I'm lucky they'll take me to the Weeping Rock Trail. I really want to hike under the mountain's overhang. The best part of hikes like that is you get to get sprinkled by the waterfalls. It's so refreshing and you feel so rejuvenated after.
Excited?
I freeze, only now realizing I'm drowning. It's a normal human reaction, but Yosemite has a way of making it feel like losing.
A little.
And it's embarrassing, but there are some parts of me I just can't deny. Like how I had a banana phone until I left for college. I'm always going to be an earthly nature freak deep down.
I better get cooking then. It's still bright and early outside, but it's almost high noon in Utah. We don't want to end up sharing our picnic with the crickets.
Wait.
Yellowstone is in the middle of tying an apron around her.
I'll fix the food this time.
At first, Yellowstone beams because if there's one thing she loves more than helping, it's being offered help. But as suddenly as lightning flashes through the sky, that morphs into a grimace.
Golly, I sure do appreciate the offer, Yosemite, but it's all fine and dandy. I can whip all this up lickety-split.
Yosemite releases Zion from her eternal hug and makes her way to the stove, snatching the apron right off Yellowstone's back.
It's not fine and it's not dandy. You wanted more help around here anyway, so here it is. Besides, I know Zion's favorite food.
Just like that, Yosemite begins bringing groceries from the table to the counter. Yellowstone looks on in quiet horror, unable to stand up to the tyrant, biting her thumbs. She mumbles to herself.
Okie dokie, this is all fine. It's all gonna turn out swell. Just trust Yosemite.
I lean in and whisper to Yellowstone. Two of us are quickly becoming the keepers of secrets within this cabin.
Be straight with me. Should I be scared of Yosemite's cooking?
Yes, you should be. We all should be.
So we resign ourselves to whatever fate Yosemite cooks up. Zion walks past us and stops at the painting. She stares up at hers, focusing on it, as if she were looking at something. As if she were looking for something deep in the valley painted on the canvas. And for a long time, she stays like that. After what feels like an eternity of listening to genres of elevator music, or didn't even know existed, the line finally starts to ring. First once, then twice. On the third time, some lady on the other end answers. My foot aches from all the impatient tapping.
Yeah, I'd like to check my balance. Checkings.
It's a long pause. When she speaks, there's a bunch of nonsense words that I don't care about.
No, I don't want the app.
More words.
I don't want the credit card either. Just tell me if there's been any suspicious charges.
She sighs, I sigh. What a pain in the ass. I give her my account number. My eyes start to glaze over as I wait for her to bring up the info. Over by the counter, Yellowstone squirms and grasps as Yosemite crams what I think are sandwiches into the picnic basket. She forces the lid shut, a murky rainbow of fruits and veggies spilling over the top. Zion is laying on my bed, staring up at the ceiling. Pup is there too, curled up on and resting her snout on her. I don't give either of them permission to be on there, but you know what? I'll let her have it this once. Just because I feel bad that Yosemite is going to all dance recital mum on her. Later on the phone speaks up and starts listing off all my recent transactions. Magazine subscriptions, Syria Club, and ASPCA donations. The Becker graffiti artist medical bills, the usual. But then, one unusual purchase. Nothing expensive, nothing grand, just an $8 charge to an online bookseller. I sneak another peek at Yosemite. She starts to hum to herself as she folds the picnic blanket into an uneven rectangle. Smelling in such an uncharacteristically joyful way, the skin on my back crawls. Okay, got it.
Alright, that's all I need to know. Thanks.
Before I can end the call, she stops me. What is it now? She asks the question, and if I could, I'd reach for the phone and swat her over the head.
Yes, I know what a smartphone is.
I hang up and toss my BlackBerry on the couch. Kind of person check in with their credit union without any hassles.
God!
At least I know one thing for certain now. Yosemite's definitely used my card to buy that book, and she probably used my phone to do it.
If you're so dead set on living an archaic existence, you may as well resort to the barter system. Really stick it to them.
You try operating in modern society. I bet you go nuts after forgetting your 5th password.
The fight drains from her eyes. She glances over at Zion, who is now sitting on the edge of the bed, waiting to go.
You're probably right.
And it's because of weird moments like that I'm not going to chew her out about it yet. Something going on here. The unsure glances and sad smiles make it as obvious as a slap to the face. So I'm just going to observe for a bit, wait and see how this plays out. Yellowstone told me that she had wandered around for years before meeting up with the other two. These girls have decades of baggage. Just like the rest of us, really. Slap. All it takes is one single clap from Yosemite for both Yellowstone and Zion to raise some attention. Even Pup does. They're better trained than most of my coworkers.
It took slightly longer than expected.
I sorta expected it.
She has the evil eye to Yellowstone. It shows her up pretty quick.
But it looks like we're finally ready to go.
Hooray!
Zion's the only one to even try and match Yosemite's enthusiasm. Her heart doesn't seem in it. She taps the air with a light fist bump.
Yellowstone, can you make sure everything is accounted for?
Yellowstone tears herself away from cringing at the picnic basket, which is looking more and more like a waste silo as the food drips over the edges. She forces a smile, a great talent.
Aye, aye. Blanket and weights in case it gets windy.
She points to her back and shakes her backpack. I can hear the weights rattling around in it.
Check. Adorable Earth Angel who's gonna have a swell time.
A doubt rings in her voice. She throws Zion a thumbs up. Zion nods and gives a thumbs up back. Yellowstone doesn't look convinced though.
Check. Evo.
So they do know her name. They just refuse to refer to her as it.
I'm actually kind of excited.
I look down and try to hide the creepy looking grin. I know I get when I'm happy, but Yellowstone still notices anyway and smiles like she just saw something disgustingly precious. She giggles.
Check.
Just let me be a national park nerd in peace, please, I beg of you.
Yosemite and her, basket of grub.
Why are you so afraid of calling my cooking food?
Check.
She doesn't just skate along to avoid the subject. She skates a full 180 degrees to avoid looking at Yosemite.
Is Puppers tagging along?
Pup, hearing his name in a mangled capacity, leaps off my bed and bounds over. He spins in circles, rubbing against my leg after every few spins, like his brain can't quite keep up with his body.
Nah, he's staying here. Just gonna keep him outside while we're gone.
Now, without her cuddle buddy, Zion floats off the bed and lands near the rest of us.
I saw him by the campground earlier. Isn't that a little concerning? He's getting awfully used to people.
Aww.
I know, right? Pretty boy thinks he's human. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
It's a long, uncomfortable silence where my baby talk seems to echo across the cabin. It's only broken by Pup growling as he tries gnawing on my shoe.
See, no hunting instincts at all. It's fine.
Zion sighs and digs deeper into her hair and snaps off a branch.
Stick?
Pup's head tilts to the side. Zion flies over to the door, whirling the stick through the air like a magic wand. She opens the door and Pup scrambles over.
Want the stick, boy? Want the stick? Go get it!
Well, a pained grunt, she tosses it outside. It doesn't go very far, but it's enough for Pup to chase it, and more importantly, for Zion to close the door before he can come back. Aww, little guy. Just a scratch and whine at the door. It's hard to resist the temptation to go back and let him in. Fortunately, Yosemite doesn't give me much time to dwell on my broken heart.
So now that the little fluff ball is out of the way, is everybody all set?
Looks like it, Chief.
Wonderful. Care to do the honors, Zion?
Of course! Where am I taking us to?
Come on! You know the place. Your favorite place?
It would be hard to have a picnic at Angel's Landing. It's quite chilly up there.
Yosemite frowns, then beckons her forward with a finger. She leans in and whispers something in Zion's ear. Her nose wrinkles in confusion as Yosemite backs away.
Yes? I can take us there, if that's what you want.
Yosemite doesn't so much as sigh, she doesn't so much sigh, she does deflate. Or the answer she wanted, I'm guessing.
Okay, everyone, please hold hands. Miss Eve, I know this is your first time doing it with a group, but don't worry. It's simple.
Sure is. All you gotta do is touch the old bread makers here with the buddies.
Before I can jerk it away, she grabs my wrist. With her kung fu grip, she forces my hand to Yosemite's. Then, when Yosemite resists, Yellowstone just does the same thing to her.
There.
Oh my god, they're holding hands.
Golly, you two don't have nothing but salt and pepper in ya, huh?
Our fingers interlock. For a moment, our palms touch. the skin pressing together. Both loosen her grip immediately and look away from each other, far, far away, where neither of us have to see each other's stupid faces. Hers definitely being the stupid braggart idiot.
What on earth did you do to make your hands so callous? You could light a match on it.
Wish I could throw it right back at her, but her hand is so smooth I could hardly even feel the lines in her palm. See, Your Honor, they're lesbians. And they should kiss. It'd be great. I need this romance in my life.
Yours feels like peeled tree bark.
Is that your only insult?
It is, and I hope you get termites.
Yellowstone grabs my free hand and squeezes it. My fingers feel like twigs bending and cracking in the grasp of Yellowstone's strength. Her body flexes as I deal with the crushing pain. In my resistance, I squeeze Yosemite's hand. There's a single snap. She lets out a yelp that sounds like pup.
Girls?
Puffs of black smoke whistle out of the top of her volcano like a steam engine.
Unless the both of ya are cruising for a bruising, let's not turn this into a slobber knocker.
I'm never getting over the way Yellowstone speaks. She says it all through gritted teeth, a dark smile forcing itself across her lips and digging into her cheeks, corrupting her usually joyful dimples. A red glow pulses from her volcano, and I decide then and there that it's probably for the best to try and avoid any future eruptions.
Capiche?
Yosemite hurriedly nods. I follow suit.
Yay! Take us away, cutie!
Zion nods, then extends her hand to Yosemite. She accepts it and tenderly strokes it for fun.
Don't let go, Miss Eve. That would be very bad.
Uh-huh. Why am I only being told this now?
Wind rushes from beneath me, lifting me up into nowhere. All that surrounds me is electricity, like I'm a grain of static in every television screen off. Every television sign-off screen to ever flicker on a screen. And that I've been living this way forever. I'm not breathing, I'm not existing, I'm only moving. And I move into darkness. When I stare too long, vague shapes of constellations and heavenly bodies show themselves. I feel my hands beginning to slip out of Yellowstone's and Yosemite's. Before I can let go, my knees hit the ground.
Ugh.
Able to breathe again, I begin shoveling in as much air as I possibly can into my lungs. This isn't nearly as intense as the other times.
Thank you for flying, Air Zion. I apologize for the turbulence.
Wait.
Is this?
I rub my hands across the ground. Moist soil and dirt kill my skin, grabbing a clump of thin, wild grass so that it slides from my fingers. It's yellowish green and thin as wheat.
Zion National Park?
I jump to my feet, trip, then jump back up again. Splatterings of trees extend into the distance in all directions, and the clearing where we're at, the land is nearly bare of them. The further you go, the closer they get to each other, and the more of them there are, until these sparse, almost naked trees combine their presence and merge into a forest. There's an elegance to them, the restrained spacing of their pine needles, allowing them to show off more of their toned and sleek wood. If their mighty redwood cousins back in Yosemite are knights, then these are fencers. They all accumulate at the base of a mountain, as it were a place of gathering and worship. The mountain looks alien compared to the natural green of the trees. It's green and its face is a grey mass, but jagged stripes of pink and grey minerals outline it, the unmistakable trademark of Navajo sandstone. Patulous nooks and overhangs look like they've been carved into the mountainside by an artist with no vision. Something so chaotic and random it could only exist in nature, yet it anchors this entire forest, presiding over it like a custodian.
Feast your eyes, Ranger. You're looking at the North Guardian Angel.
There's more popular places in the Co-op Terrace.
Zion must feel Yosemite's eyes watching her, because she immediately course corrects.
But the Northgate peaks are always so beautiful. Something as simple as sitting between a mountain can really humble you.
It's per PP.
You're telling me. Just looking at it makes me feel like a teeny tiny ant floating through oblivion.
So is every episode gonna be Yosemite causing some sort of conflict?
Huh. You get that too?
Like clockwork. I just try to push the bad thoughts away.
You know, the universe is going to collapse on itself one day.
Not thinking!
Yellowstone plugs her ears and stomps her feet to drown me out. Somebody has wandered off, inspecting the ground for a flat spot clear of any rocks.
Eve, stop inducing an existential crisis in Yellowstone. Yellowstone, could you help me with setting up the food, please?
Okie dokie, Smokey.
Yellowstone prances over to Yosemite, humming a little tune to herself. For someone who was brushing up against a nervous breakdown, she sure did recover easily.
But you gotta let me choose the picnic spot. Not just any old ground will do. It's an art.
And I assume you're the artisan?
Yes, indeedy. And you can just call me DiCaprio.
She proudly crosses her arms, basking in her status as skilled homemaker. Meanwhile, Yosemite is basking in the stupidity of what Yellowstone just said.
Do you mean Da Vinci?
The two of them go off, arguing the dichotomy of Leonardo's as they search for the perfect place to picnic. While they're busy doing that, it would be the perfect time to really take in the sights. I take out the camera I stashed away in my flannel pocket. It's a digital one I bought almost 10 years ago and I still barely know how to work. Once I get it turned on and triple check it's not set to record, I finally start snapping away. It's not every day I get to visit Utah. In fact, the only time I've ever visited has been while I drove through it when going to Georgia for my federal training in Glencoe. But I've always loved how red all the mountains are. Not so much here, but you wouldn't have to go very far to find the entire mountain ranges that glow as if an entire sunset was being projected upon them. There's no other state that looks quite like it. The people are nice too. I zoom in up close to one of the more interesting spots on the North Guardian Angel, an overhang in the left and the far left. It's curved in a way that the shadows cast under it make it look like the entrance to a shallow cave. The walls of the mountain phase into a dull pink near the end of it.
Are you actually happy to be here, Miss Eve?
The grass rustles. I look away from the camera. Zion creeps to my side, twiddling her thumbs and keeping her eyes locked on the ground, as if the simple task of talking to me was a potential risk.
Surprised I'm capable of feeling joy?
Panic sets in as she scrambles to clarify.
Oh no! Not at all!
You hurt this baby. Hesitance sets in as she realizes she can't.
Well, not entirely.
As polite as ever, I see, even when the truth is inconvenient.
Don't need to sugarcoat it, kid. I know what I am.
You do?
Whatever she thinks, I've been called it. Cynical, stick in the mud, a hard ass, or as Yellowstone might put it.
Sure. A grump.
Zion jolts up, so far that she floats back onto the ground, swinging her head back and forth.
That's a fib! Never ever have I thought you were grumpy, Miss Eve.
No.
Just sad.
Oh. Gravity must have gone a little heavier because my arms fall limp at my side along with the camera. Zion is such an anomaly, even when compared to volcano heads and waterfall hair. She's intrusive in ways most adults are too self-absorbed to be, and she does with this gentle honesty of a child. As far as I know, she could be both or either. Who knows how years and age even work for these girls. Despite that, it's hard to feel like she's effectively anything other than a kid.
How can I be sad when you're so pretty? This park has sights I couldn't dream of seeing in NorCal.
It's not something I'm particularly good at doing consciously, but I try to give her a smile. Using my mom as a base of reference, someone who managed to ascend to sainthood despite raising 5 rowdy kids, or because of it. Zion can't hide her blush, as pink as the gradient of the mountain. Her usual uncertain courtesy is briefly taken over by a huffy pout.
You really mustn't say things like that, Miss Eve. It's embarrassing for all parties.
I never really thought about it much before, but she really does sound like a mini Yosemite sometimes. Except Zion's bigger words have the benefit of being spoken by a big mouth. Let's hope Oli Fear's personality doesn't wear off on her, too.
But just so you know,
She lowers her voice to a grave whisper, tapping one side of her mouth to tell me a secret. She waits for me to crouch down to... She waits for me to crouch down. I don't.
it's very possible for someone to feel sad, but to try and hide it by pretending to feel another way.
Uh-huh. And do you think that's what I'm doing?
She shakes her head again, twice as hard and with twice as many shakes.
Not anymore. Not at all. You seem to smile so much more these days. And you don't sigh as much before going to work now. That one is the most notable. Sighing is the biggest sign of sadness there is.
Oh.
You're still scary, but you've absolutely changed. Now you're nice scary.
Pressing her hands together, she gives a smile, but the way she closes her eyes while she's doing it makes me think she's just scared to see my reaction. As she should be, because that's hogwash. Well, what's with these campers? What is Zion? Or Jessie for that matter? What am I doing that's any different than before? There's no change. There's no change in just doing your job or the stupidest simple things like smiling. That's called being a normal-ass human, and last I checked, I didn't imply something as dramatic as going soft or letting go of the things that made you hard to begin with.
Trust me, kid, I'm just as scary today as I was yesterday. No one stops being miserable overnight. Throw me a bad day and see how nice I am then.
Well, I suppose that's true. But you've been with us for more than a single day, or night for that matter. Change is as gradual as the passing of dusk to dawn, after all.
You still notice the crack of dawn, though. Can't say it looks much brighter than the witching hour right now.
Zion contemplates this, rubbing her chin like a junior detective.
In that case, you're probably still sleeping. Some people sleep in for an awfully long time.
She glances over at Yosemite. Her and Yellowstone are arguing over whether Splinter is one of the Renaissance greats. Or not. I don't know how I got to this point. I don't know how my life got here either. They're really fucking arguing over the Ninja Turtles.
Zion, are you feeling sad and pretending?
If there's something going on between her and Zion, whatever wordless little struggle it may be, I'm bound to get sucked into it at some point. This is what happens when an entire social ecosystem is crammed into a cabin. Zion's shoulders tense up, then slump down. It's hard to read her expression based off her profile, but when she turns to face me, her tiny hands are clumped into fists, and uncertainty steals her gaze.
We do what we can for as long as we can, Miss Eve.
That's the most cryptic answer you could have given. It's a sharp whistle from behind us. We look back, and both of Yellowstone's pinkies are in the corners of her mouth. Talk about skill. On the other end of the spectrum, Yosemite has both of her pinkies in her mouth and is blowing all the air stored into her lungs into them. When she notices us watching, she pretends that she was coughing into her hand on the ground beside them. She pretends she was coughing into her hand. On the ground beside them, an entire picnic spread has been set up.
Stew's down, you two! Come and get it!
Yellowstone scrunches up her nose.
Say, Yosemite? Don't you mean soup's up?
Come and get it!
With a small sigh, Zion leaves me behind and starts to walk over to the others. At this distance, I wonder why she doesn't use her wings.
However long we can take it. Coming, Yosemite!
Aww. This is just Tess all over again. That was her name, right? Yeah, it was Tess. Yosemite greets Zion with a smile and a small hug, having been separated by the long, intravelable distance of 100 feet. She looks over to me and her eyes go flat like a dead fish. She points to the invisible watch in her wrist. Amazing. Even in moments of obvious internal crisis, she still manages to be insufferable. We lock eyes. I put on a smirk as smarmy as the one she usually wears when making my way over. Real slow-like.
Gotta say, girls, this place is gorgeous. Maybe even prettier than the park we came from.
I don't mean it, of course, not with all the memories I have there. But if we'll get under the skin of Yosemite the Prude, then I'll temporarily diss Yosemite the Park.
It's cute how you believe your pettiness will fuel my ire, when all it does is serve to further your own rot. Perish, gremlin.
Don't use those $20 words of yours to be a Grinch, Yosemite. Dollface was just smelling the roses.
They all talk like absolute fucking weirdos, and I love them for it. Yellowstone, unaware of the psychological warfare occurring in front of her, sticks up for me. This is it. I win. Yosemite can't fight back against such obvious kindness.
And they smell great.
I let the sentence slide out in a whisper. So backhanded I can almost see it slap Yosemite's face. She clicks her tongue and waves me off. For once, a total victory, finally. Yellowstone may not notice it, but Zion sure does. Throughout all of this, her eyes have been slipping back and forth between me and Yosemite. She uses the lull in the conversation to shift gears.
This spread looks like something out of a picture book. Did you set it up, Yellowstone?
Bet your tush I did. It was just about the only thing Yosemite would let me do.
Aesthetically, the picnic spread is really is perfect. Yellowstone's knack for detail shines with every paper plate and dish arranged around the picnic basket, as it were a coffee table centerpiece. On all four corners, smooth stones weigh down the blanket to keep it from crinkling up. All that's missing is a potato salad and fireworks. Even the spots she picked feels like it was expertly chosen to create the most all-American picnic experience possible. Buried underneath an elder tree, with drooping branches and leaves for shade. I know which spot I'm taking.
Hey Zion. How does the food look? I made all of it, even the globe mallow gruel that you like. Doesn't it make you salivate? Doesn't it bring back memories?
Yellowstone. Yosemite, you're scaring me. You're scaring the baby. Yeah, memories of puking on the black top as a kid. In all fairness, could end up being good, but things aren't looking too hot right now. Some of these dishes look recognizable, but they're all the wrong colors. That gritsy oatmeal porridge thing she made, yeah, that's orange. It shouldn't be orange. A fruit salad of pine needles is bedding. That's my only guess for the plate next to it. Were these even the fruits Jessie brought over of the groceries? Was any of this? Did she did the weird disappearing thing while making the food? Did she just go out and pick whatever she could find? Zion observes the assumedly edible substances in front of her and nods.
This looks like you tried really hard, Yosemite. Good job.
Ouch, must be Pharisees because Yosemite just got burned. But it doesn't seem to bother her. In fact, she's smiling, like her macaroni portrait just got hung on the fridge. Good job, Yosemite. It's not Da Vinci or DiCaprio, but you get 2 gold stars. She's either deranged or resilient.
I'm glad. I was thinking of you the entire time.
She's deranged.
Come on, let me fix you a plate.
Yosemite sits down on the blanket and starts to pile a little bit of everything onto a flimsy paper plate.
I'll do yours next, Yellowstone. Eve, you can do it yourself.
Whatever, I don't want her poisoning me anyway. Plopping down on the blanket, I slump against the tree. Call me overly cautious, but I'm gonna observe the reaction of this food before I even consider putting it in my body. Yosemite sits down Zion's plate in front of her. It's a mountain of food, almost as big as the actual mountain behind us, all mished and mashed together. It's taken on the colour and texture of ground rainbow trout, a bastardization of the food pyramid, if I've ever seen one.
This is a lot.
Of course it is. I know you say you're a picky eater, but the Zion I know would be happy with whatever she got. She would be grateful for simply having food.
Mm.
The unhappy cherub gives a defiant groan and pokes at Food Mountain with her finger. It jiggles.
Don't give me that. I expect you to finish everything on that plate. You don't expect me to let you starve now, do you?
She's just over there. Before I'm even done leaning over. Before I'm even done leaning over. Yellowstone's waiting for me to whisper in her ear.
Is starving to death even an option for you three?
We get cravings, but it ain't like we'll croak from hunger. Before these two, I could go weeks without eating.
Just a moment. Apologies, I'm back. That's what I thought. I had a fairy tale creature kneels over from something as mundane as a lack of food. Yosemite's always been stuck on Hyperball, but now she's just playing house.
You're right, Yosemite.
Ripping her fork, Zion plunges it into the gelatinous mass. I have to swallow back the vomit a little bit when she slips it into her mouth.
Yum. It's so crunchy.
It cracks like thin bones between her teeth.
Those would be the pine needles. They're quite nutritious.
She bobs her head up and down, squirreling away the food in her cheeks.
Really hits the spot.
Does that mean you like it?
Zion swallows. The gulp sounds like an anvil settling in her stomach. Then somehow, through all the different shades of discomfort flickering for her eyes, she smiles. Not just a smirk either, a bright sunny beam.
I love it. Almost as much as I love you, Yosemite.
Aww.
Oh, brother.
Where art thou?
Me and Yellowstone can only sigh as the performance before us amps up the theatrics. Yosemite buys into it though. Hell, she may even purchase the playbill during intermission. She swims over Zion, like her mere presence is enough to make her melt into a soup of unicorns and hearts.
Such a sweetheart.
There's a crack in her voice and the facade. Her breath shakes. She smacks her chapped lips as they quiver.
I'm so lucky to have you.
We do what we can for as long as we can. Zion's words seem more relevant than ever as she places a comforting hand on Yosemite's thigh.
No, I'm so lucky to have you. I'm sorry for being so difficult.
I'm not sure how much good it did, but Yosemite gets halfway to a smile.
You have nothing to apologize for, little one.
She bops Zion on the nose. Her eyes go wide like a flashlight that was just shined in her face.
If this doesn't work, I'll be the one that needs to apologize to you. Speaking of apologies.
Yosemite picks up another plate and starts loading it up with more food. Her bangs dangle over her eyes and hide most of it, but a slight blush streaks across her face as she's forced to admit that she isn't without her faults.
Sorry for taking so long, Yellowstone. You must be getting antsy.
Oh, no, really, it's no biggie. You don't gotta... Okay, you're already doing it. That's fine. This is fine. Everything is fine.
Dread colors Yellowstone from the top of her volcano to the tip of her chin. A fresh wobbling plate of slop is placed in front of her. Above me more than a passing glance, Yosemite vaguely acknowledges me.
I meant what I said. Starve.
You're doing me a mercy.
She sticks her nose in the air and returns to attend to Zion. Ever the optimist, Yellowstone scoops up a chunk of Yosemite's surprise and gulps. She's trembling.
Rub-a-dub-dub! At least it ain't mud.
High praise. A gust of wind blows past us as she stares down the fork. Somewhere in the world, a tumbleweed drifts across the desert. Yellowstone is quick to the draw though, and she bites down before it can get her first. I don't doubt that it would have. Chew. Swallow. Gag. Frog falls onto the blanket. Yellowstone limply sits on her knees, staring off into a safe place far from here. Her eyes are the reflection of every disaster and atrocity of to ever scar the earth. the Black Death, Hindenburg, JFK in Dallas. I see it all.
That bad?
About what I figured.
She doesn't look at me.
So, what's the problem?
Dunno. I guess some things just really take the Simon out of your Garfunkel, you know?
What does that even fucking mean? Distance between me and her may as well be the sun to the moon. I do what I can and give her one solid pat on the shoulder. You gave Yosemite the benefit of the doubt, kid. There's nothing else you could have done.
Well, let's just stuff that trauma away for another day.
Wow, that really is how she copes.
For now, it's time to hatch Plan Y.
Plan Y? What happened to the other 24 plans?
They don't exist. The Y stands for Yellowstone.
She has a quick glance at Yosemite, who is currently wiping crumbs off Zion's face. With the coast clear, she does a small fist bump and starts digging around in her volcano. I feel nothing as I watch her arm go elbow deep into her own head. Only emptiness gnaws the pit of my stomach as her tongue wiggles out of the corner of her mouth, as if she's struggling to find gum in her purse.
Aha! Bingo!
And with, like a magician whipping a rabbit out of their hat, she lifts out 2 Ziploc baggies with sandwiches inside of them. How and why were you keeping that in there? Alright, those emotions I wasn't feeling earlier, I'm feeling all of them now. Viscerally. So doesn't expect me to eat that, right?
Not to be a stick in the mud, but I kinda saw this coming. So I did a little prep work in advance. Hope you like tuna salad.
Oh god, she actually does. She tosses me one of the baggies. The heat melts to my skin as soon as I catch it. I play hot potato with it, passing it between my hands until it's cool enough to actually handle. Why do these girls keep throwing more bizarre concepts at me to accept this time, literally? Wait, is it actually warm inside Yellowstone's head? I thought her volcano only acted up when she got angry, but the bag felt like it was nuked in the microwave. Look up from the baggie and at her, trying to find a good reason. Trying to find a good read on her mood, but she's just staring at me expectantly, waiting for me to shove her head sandwich down my gullet. I've spent enough time with Yellowstone to know that she doesn't bottle things up. To know that she bottles things up, though, to the point where she explodes when letting out her feelings. Maybe this Yosemite and Zion business just has her irritated. When it comes to all 3 of them, I'm always doing guesswork.
You're gonna be so jazzed about this sandwich, EVO. I spread lots of brown butter on it.
Are you trying to clog my arteries before I'm 30?
There's always Yosemite scrub.
She has it with a grin on her face, but she may as well be telling me that death is the only viable option. Yosemite sneaks a peek at us after hearing Yellowstone's comment, but turns her nose up as soon as I notice. Looks like someone's salty about the fact that people witnessing her holding a small child emotionally hostage doesn't want to eat her trash.
Well, bottoms up, I guess.
I open the bag and take out the sandwich. Melted cheese and tuna oozes over the crust. The bread is flaky and firm and it looks delicious. I hate myself for eating like this every day, but I'm hooked at this point. Chemically addicted. When I bite into it, the juices from the tuna flow into my mouth. For a brief moment, I decide life is worth living.
What the hell? It's evenly cooked, too. You're just toying with my taste buds now.
Ah, that's a side effect of the old noggin. To be honest, I wanted it to be fluffy and light. The ultimate picnic food.
Also, does her head go into her brain? Or is like a pocket dimension in there? I don't think we're ever told. She's slightly closer to me, her downcast gaze fading into a knowing smile. She signals her victory.
But as long as you dig it, I guess I can let it slide.
Thank you, Yellowstone National Park, bringing a whole new meaning to the term brain food.
Is there anything else that head of yours can do?
Oh yeah, a whole bunch of neato stuff. It's even a handy dandy.
She grabs the plate of Yosemite's delight in front of her and tosses it into her head. Yes, including the paper plate.
Insult me.
You have split ends.
Lava erupts from her head, sound of an explosion drops like a bomb. The heat wave warms my face as if it were inches away from a blazing fire. Yosemite and Zion turn their head, the harsh orange light colouring their faces. When the lava geyser plummets back into her head, they go back to whatever they were doing and face.
Garbage disposal!
Did that not cause an eruption?
Horrifying.
And oh so convenient!
Well, she's got me there. Yellowstone pulls open the bag, but only takes the sandwich halfway out, using the bag as a crumb catcher like a burrito. After taking a few bites out of it, a simple smile spreads across her face. Her posture relaxes as she melts further into the blanket. I guess decent food can change anyone's mood for the better, even someone as cheery as Yellowstone. She still glances over at Yosemite and Zion from time to time, observing the suffocating maternity of it all. But even that's a little more subdued now. Yosemite rests her chin on her clasped hands, watching Zion poke and choke down her food. The kid has gotten so used to it by now, she's always making it look natural. And for a while, we all just sit there and munch away at our food. A soft breeze whispers through the valley, rattling the leaves above me. I look up and stare at the clouds through the dancing branches and watch them drift away in the sky, into the sky's faded blue forever. With a deep breath, I draw in as much of the fresh air as I can and let it fill my lungs. It takes, it feels like a cleanse. Then I close my eyes and just soak it in. Hey Teddy, it's me again, your favorite prisoner. Right now I'm in Zion National Park, courtesy of the obvious. Yosemite and Yellowstone are here too. We're having a picnic right now. I wish I could write good things about the food, but unfortunately Yosemite decided she's due for a crisis, and made it herself instead of letting Yellowstone do it. I haven't tried it, but apparently it turned out as well as you'd expect. There's something going on between Yosemite and Zion right now. I don't know what, but it's starting to feel like a bomb is about to go off. These girls sure are too human for their own good. It's got me wondering, when was the last time I've done something like this? Just sat underneath a tree and enjoyed the moment, or enjoyed anything for that matter. Actually enjoyed it, not the relief of a good cup, but experiencing something in a way that penetrates through the fog, that makes me feel like I'm living and not just shuffling through life until I wither into the ground. Comfortable silence, nature and its eternity, seeing a mountain and knowing it was there before I was born and that it'll stay long after I'm dead, feeling tiny and grateful in a world that's far larger and more significant than my ego could ever be. These are my favorite things, and these are the things that I enjoy. And yet expressing them, and experiencing them, and even feeling them, I'm scared to do. More than an admittal of defeat, it would be making myself vulnerable. It doesn't take much either. A bad day, a bad encounter, a bad person. Life is a way of making you resent the things you love. Wouldn't it be better to bury and forget about them? Maybe dig up every so often. Maybe dig up every once in a while to get a small glimpse so you don't go completely insane. But when I look up and see these three girls, the very embodiment of the green fields and pink mountain cliffs surrounding them, I start to doubt everything I've just written. Yellowstone is so nurturing, biting her nails simply because she couldn't give everyone a good meal. Zion does her best to make people happy, even if it means eating a plate of their obvious desperation. And Yosemite, for all her flaws, is always grasping at knowledge. Sometimes she just grabs a handful of straws instead, but she's always looking for truth in it. What she's always looking for is truth. There's everything to be afraid of or too tired to be. There's everything I'm too afraid or too tired to be. Or maybe everything I was. I could be that. I could go back to that. I could. Do I want to, though? I am brave enough to actually take that. Am I brave enough to actually take that step, Teddy? What stops me, or anything else that could go wrong, from reverting back to how things are? Nothing. That's what. Nothing at all. I rape the sandwich crumbs off the page and clap Teddy shut with his eye. Usually I come away feeling better after journaling. But I guess when I do it, when I'm in a good mood, I just have the opposite of it just has the opposite effect. I'm never going to be content, huh? Zion stretches her tiny arms to the sky as a yawn squeaks out of her.
Done! Thank you very much for the food.
Her plate is empty enough for me to believe she actually licked all that slop clean. Just how dedicated to Yosemite is this little squirt.
That's my girl. You make Yosemite so happy.
Zion wrinkles her nose. Maybe even she's surprised by how much she's getting babied compared to usual.
Okay. Well, if you're happy, then I'm happy. I think.
Unable to bite down on her bottom lip any harder, Yellowstone speaks up.
Zion, you don't have to.
Yellowstone, please.
Yosemite's voice spikes and comes down with a crack.
Please. Let me do this.
At first it doesn't seem like her pleading is going to work. Yellowstone takes in a breath to let her have it, but she deflates as soon as Yosemite turns to us. She doesn't say anything. Her damp eyes do all the talking. She forces a shaky smile and turns back to Zion.
So, how are you feeling now?
No matter how happy of a tone she puts on, her laboured breath makes every word ring with hollow desperation.
I'm not sure. A little queasy. I think from the food.
Whatever facade Zion was trying to keep up for Yosemite's sake is starting to fall apart. Even the simple act of looking at Yosemite seems too much for her to bear, as her voice begins to crumble.
But did it remind you of anything? Did it make you nostalgic?
Aww.
I don't care if you liked it or not. All I want to know is that it worked. Please, tell me it worked.
So yeah, even Yosemite's baby. Yosemite fires off strings of panic. They come back shooting out of her mouth as quickly as they exit. Whatever all of this has been building up to, it's coming to a head. Can't say I'm happy to have a front row seat to it.
I'm sorry.
No! What did I tell you? Don't apologize. Nothing is accomplished that way.
Zion winces as Yosemite's fingers grip into her shoulders. Those squinted eyes, droplets of tears start to form in her lashes. She can't squirm away. Yosemite is forcing her to look at her, to witness this sad performance face to face.
Please, Yosemite. I don't understand.
Why not? You must remember something. It can't just all be gone.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yosemite, chill.
All I want is for you to be happy, Yosemite. Please tell me how to make you happy.
Oh, fuck. My heart. Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus. What the hell is this?
I need you to tell me that you remember this place.
It feels too personal. It feels too visceral.
That you can remember me hiding in bushes and staying until we could see the stars.
She shakes Zion as if she does it hard, as if she shakes Zion like if she does it hard enough, all this information will just spill out of her.
Tell me the story, Zion.
I hate it.
I don't know what story.
Cut the crap, Yosemite! Whatever you're trying to do isn't working!
She ignores me. Nothing I said broke through. I'm not even sure she heard me.
Then tell me what you remember. Tell me how you feel.
Scared.
The baby! Oh my god. Oh, right in the fucking heart. A cloud of ash plumes out of Yellowstone's head. She jumps to her feet, the familiar wave of heat pushes past me. My ears popped like a jet got too close to the ground and broke the sound barrier.
Put a sock in it, Yosemite!
Yellowstone's fury is carved into her face, a deep scowl etched in lines from her nose to her lips. Magma seeps over the top of her volcano and streams down her head. Yosemite sits there in a daze, her grip on Zion's shoulders now a limp hold. Zion doesn't even need to break away. She rushes over to Yellowstone and buries herself in her stomach, sobbing into her jacket. Oh, the baby.
I know what you're trying to pull, and I get it. It breaks my ticker too, but this ain't right. Zion felt bad for you. I felt bad for you. It's the only reason I let this go on for so long. But you did what you always do and took it too far. She don't even remember anything, and you still did it. Well, listen here, Missy. You can throw your weight around when it comes to the rest of us, but I ain't gonna let you do it to Zion. If you actually care about her and aren't just being a selfish square, then you'll leave well enough alone.
Yosemite, her hands still stretched out, brings them in and takes a long, horrified look at them.
I didn't mean.
She can't finish her sentence. Yellowstone glares at her like a beast shielding its cub from a hunter. She reaches over to me, but I look away.
I'm so sorry.
The words tumble out in a hoarse whisper. Yosemite scrambles to her feet and runs off into the forest, disappearing into the thick of the trees. When all is silent, Yellowstone lets out a long sigh and flops back down on the blanket, bringing Zion with her, still nestled in a tight hug. Most of the lava is dried already, but clumps of smoke still whiffed from her head like a candle was just blown up.
So, are you going to give me an explanation?
Not now, Eve. It ain't a good time.
Yellowstone strokes Zion's hair, pulling at any stray leaves that have grown in. Zion clings to her in balls, the tears streaming down her round cheeks like waterfalls.
I just wish she wasn't hurting so much. Why is it so hard for her to be happy?
This little baby is breaking my fucking heart. That last one hit hard enough to knock the air out of me. Why is it so hard to be happy? For me, it's because I think too much. The downfall of man, really. But Yosemite, the pain in the ass who prides herself in having all the answers, the one who's always going around and telling me how I should live my life. What's her malfunction? Does she get to have one? After being so insistent about being right all the time, acting all high and mighty like she's some kind of bastion of wisdom and foresight. No, I won't let her. She doesn't get to be unhappy. And after sitting across the table from me every morning and butting her way into my head, and after stumbling over her ego enough to make me think she may actually get it in some small way, and not after making Zion cry.
Could you get out of Dodge for a bit, Eve? We need to be alone for a minute.
Sure. Was just about to go for a walk anyway.
I crack my knuckles, leaving Zion and Yellowstone in the ruins of the picnic, with my eyes towards the forest. I follow the direction Yosemite ran in and trample across the field. I'm swallowed by the shadow of the trees as I hike deeper into the forest, dodging low branches and paving new paths where people may or may not have tread in decades, if ever. Unfamiliar birds chirp from every direction as I rustle through their homes. The soil is moist and dark here. My boots sink into it with every step I take. One would think that... I lost my train of thought. Unfamiliar birds chirp from every direction as I rustle through their home. The soil is moist and dark here. My boots sinking into it with every step I take. One would think that that would make it easier to track down Yosemite, but it's like she has no environmental impact at all. Zero footprints and not even trampled grass. For a second I start to think she zapped herself back to the cabin, but then between tangled branches, I catch a glimpse of her blue hair. These girls sure have a way of running off into the forest when they don't want to confront reality. And it's the second time it's happened. Ugh. My throat's getting really sore. I've been talking for almost 2.5 hours straight. God, give me a second. Okay, that should be me. I'm determined to finish this chapter now. I swat away the leaves and march into the clearing. She tenses up, her pointed ears twitch when her shoulders relax.
Here to lecture me, I see.
As a matter of fact,
Don't waste your breath. I know what I've done.
I'll use my breath however I damn well please, including to chew you out.
Escalating as always.
How about my fists adjust your definition of escalation?
See, that's your problem. When you get the emotion bug, you have no clue how to quarantine it. So you lash out and punch people in the face. It's
Quit the charade!
Clenching my teeth, I groan and stomp the dead grass over and over. I don't punch trees, that's all I can do. I don't punch trees. That's all I can do.
What the hell was that back there, huh?
Yosemite freezes, her eyes unblinking as I finish kicking the dirt and catching my breath. I'm not sure which one tires me out more. It's so much effort being angry all the time. So much. Why do caring and not caring have to be so hard?
It was desperation, I suppose.
Her ears flatten, and for an unshielded second, her eyes, her arrow-straight posture sinks to.
No. More like panic. A flash of it all at once. When you break, and you feel you need to take an action. Any action. Or get swallowed by it.
Is it a Zion thing?
It's more than that. It's a crisis of dread rooted in existential...
Is it a Zion thing?
It's a Zion thing.
I finally admit something of actual clarity and not vague poetry.
And what did Zion do?
Nothing. She's done nothing. She's as kind and nurturing and wonderful as she always has been. For as long as I can remember. Most likely before that too. I'm the one who causes the issues. Who thinks too much, says too much, tries too hard in all the wrong ways. Bet you know that by now.
Glad to see you've developed some self-awareness.
I've always had it. It's just easier to suppress it than elaborate on it.
For the first time, she may have said something that is actually hard to argue with. And when I see her like this, sulking in the middle of a clearing, like a kid lost in the woods, too deep in to know which direction to take next, it's enough to make me agree with her. There's always something weird going on with Zion. Just the moment they all burst out of the closet pretending to be ghosts. The way they talk about her, the way they treat her, they all baby her, sure, but there's real relevance there too. So there's real reverence there too. Not too different to how you might treat a grandparent or someone fading away in a nursing home.
Yosemite,
I can hear her draw in a sharp, steady breath.
what happened to Zion?
She exhales, her breath coming out in spurts and sputters and Yosemite running on empty.
What happens to everything? Time.
My knee-jerk reaction is to berate her for not spitting it out. But then I remember something. Things both Yellowstone and Yosemite have said. That Zion can't help out like she used to. Yosemite feeding me some mumbo-jumbo about human perception shaping reality. The comment I made about park puberty must not have been far off.
She's changed?
Yosemite turns, not enough to face me, but not enough to face me. I don't think she can manage that right now. All I get is her side profile, the sunlight breaking through the branches above us and glistening in the pebbles speckled across her face. A tear twinkles from the corner of her eye.
So much. And she used to be so much. So much.
Her fist clenches, fingernails digging into her skin. The words seem to linger right behind her tongue, unable to come to her. She tosses her hands through her hair until it looks like a mop.
So much more than she is now. It's completely and utterly unfair.
Her voice cracks. The wind whistles through the circle of trees surrounding us as if her breathing, scattered and heavy, is composing the breeze. Blech. It's uncomfortable, seeing this kind of vulnerability from her. How do I stop this? Where's the part of me that just wants to laugh in her smug face and tell her to get over it? That sulking in the forest isn't any way for Queen Bitch to present herself. It would usually come right out of me without a second to even filter through my head. But right now I feel like all I want to do is know. All I want is to know. Right now, I feel like all I want is to know. Look at that character development. What brings the being I look on the opposite side of the table every morning into this state?
What was she like?
The voice comes out softer than I ever expected. In the last 5 years, I've been probably only used that tone of voice for Pup and random critters I see off the side of the trail. Yosemite turns her head to me, her eyes slowly narrow, looking me over. She raises her brow, suspicion puppeting every subconscious move her body makes away from me. I frown as I notice it. Her eyes flicker, eyes going from narrow to wide with surprise. She slightly glances away back to the side profile. She waddles a few steps closer.
She was like the forest, tall and wise and dignified. If there was something to be known, then she knew it. Every creature, story, and act of nature. If it was within her bounds, she lived alongside it and advocated its spirit. And when she found me, I was included in those bounds as well. All of me. The valley and everything else.
Yosemite had always told me my thinking was too linear. I told her she didn't make any sense, but when she says these things out loud, things that sound far off, almost ancient, I think I get it. As well as I can understand things that might actually be beyond my comprehension. As well as I can understand things that might actually be beyond my comprehension. Feeling so far out of my depth, I may as well be in the Mariana Trench. I crack an uneasy chuckle.
You make her sound like an actual angel.
If you had known her, you would have thought she were a goddess.
Yosemite snaps in my direction, biting off a small chunk of the conversation immediately. Immediately she cringes. It makes me wonder if she means she actually feels regret, but of course she does. Of course she does. The lull comes to an end with a chuckle of her own. Just one though, nervous and solitary.
Her wings used to be bigger, you know? Well, all of her was bigger, I suppose. But her wings could stretch out as far as she was tall. Sometimes they seemed big enough to block out the sky. She used to wrap me in them. Her feathers were like clouds and she was warm. And she would look down at me and talk. Teach. I remember it. The images are getting fuzzier and fuzzier. But I can still remember how it felt. But she can't.
Now it all comes together. The story she was so desperate to hear, this floating.
The picnic didn't jog her memory like you wanted. Is that it?
There has to be something that can. I don't want to accept that all of it is just gone. If she forgets herself and then I forget her, then what proof will there be that any of it was real? That she was real?
Poor Zion. Not because she's forgotten herself or whatever, but because Yosemite can't accept the her that she is now. Their entire existence is deemed invalid because of Yosemite. How Zion must be forced to play along simply because of Yosemite's feelings. Now I get why Yellowstone was so upset.
That's real screwed up. All she knows is that you have high expectations, and you'll be sad if they aren't met. If she can't even remember anything, then how can you expect her to ever meet those? It's a litmus test, and a crummy one at that.
I'm ready for her to throw something right back at me, but she hardly reacts.
Call it what you want. Doing nothing would have been a betrayal to everything she did to make me who I am now. The only other option is to accept that the Zion who was real to me has been obliterated.
She starts at the other end of the clearing, further from the picnic than before. Then she stops at the mouth of two trees.
You might not believe me, but I am sorry that you were dragged into this. I know I'm selfish, angry. I don't mean for it to infect everything.
Call out to her, straining my voice so she can hear me loud and clear from the other side.
You're only selfish if you can't accept her.
She glances over her shoulder.
Would you?
The shade engulfs her as she fades back into the forest. When she's gone, the breeze stops. Birds return to the clearing, chirping as they warm themselves in the beams of sun spotting the ground. A long sigh heaves out of me. I didn't even know I was holding my breath. I lean against the rough bark of the tree. I thought about punching her. Well, the bark of the tree I thought about punching earlier. The thought strikes me again now, but despite all that, I still can't bring myself to do it. Can't make that change. Punch that tree, read those letters. After all, the real Zion was obliterated for change. Then why would I even commit to it? See, there's our Eve development getting tied into our girls.
You can't go out, not when the weather's so nasty.
Flash of lightning blots out the world. Just for a second, it must not be far. It must not be far away either. The thunder crashes outside as if it were right up in my ear. The entire cabin shakes.
The weather wouldn't hurt me, Yellowstone. It wouldn't hurt you either.
Pup whines, trembling beneath the table as he sits on my feet.
So, that don't mean I'm not allowed to worry. First Yosemite runs off, and now you too. It just ain't right.
I finish reading for another form, then tear it into.
Oh, please. Stop pretending like you're human. Anyone would get sick of the charade going on inside this cabin after long enough.
Yellowstone shoots a pointed glare at me. I give Zion enough time to open the door and slink into the patio. The wind is so harsh it blows the rain into the cabin.
I'm sorry, Yellowstone, but I need to think.
Hey! Wait!
The door slams shut, leaving Yellowstone to stare at it, her hands still stretched out for Zion.
That was a real crummy thing to say. We might not be human, but we have feelers that work just as well as yours.
Sorry to hear that.
I unfold the next feedback form and read through it. This one's for Robert Sanchez, who wanted to extend his thanks to the ranger who walked with him to the river. I remember this geezer. He was looking for a specific spot his wife liked coming to before she passed. I rip it in half without any trouble. I take the two halves and rip it again, this time into 4 quarters.
Just take advantage of not being human. It's your biggest strength. Don't have to worry about the same crap we do.
That's a fib. If we're strong, it's 'cause we're so much like people. That's the way I see it.
Don't look so smug. If Yosemite's collective consciousness mumbo-jumbo is right, then you three came from people. That's a tragedy, if you ask me. Rise above it.
You just keep being a negative Nancy. I'll keep being a correct Kathy.
She folds her arms and smirks, doubling down on her smugness. But the smirk softens, dissolving into a genuine smile. If she was offended by my cynicism, then she's already moved on from it. That's the thing about Yellowstone. She's always being saddled with everyone's negativity. Maybe she's never actually does move on from it, just packs it away somewhere inside of her, only letting it all burst out from for her when she can't contain it anymore. Always smiling until she can't.
Sorry.
Don't even unfold the next form, just rip it.
No big dealio. We've all had a rough go of it today.
She takes the chair Yosemite usually sits in and spins it around before squatting in it backwards. She tips it back and forth, 2 legs always off the ground.
We know who to thank for it, at least.
The front 2 legs of the chair slam down on the floor. Yellowstone's bottom lip quivers in sudden horror.
Me?
Not unless you're 6 feet tall and have blue hair.
Oh.
It's not even relief that colors her face, only blank acknowledgement.
Yeah.
There's a gap in the conversation, if you could even call it that. The wailing of the storm is the only thing keeping it from lapsing into dead silence.
I know it's easy to get steamed at Yosemite. I'm kinda steamed at Yosemite. But she's sad. And she's been sad for a while. I tried my darndest to keep the fat lady singing for as long as I could, but when she's ready to yodel, by golly, she's gonna yodel. Don't pin too much on her, please.
I'm not sure that's a request I can honor. My feelings on Yosemite keep getting more and more complicated. She's a rival, a validator, smart, snooty, kind, cruel. There could be an entire dictionary of words to describe her. She can bully Yellowstone into hating herself or manipulate Zion to the point of tears, while at the same time scolding me about my work and the nature of myself. Can I hate her? Respect her? Tolerate her? Are we friends? Maybe more? I'm still holding out for it. Listen. All I'm saying is if episode 5 drops and they get together at the end, I fucking called it. And someone owes me money. I don't know who, but someone. Someone owes me money. Sometimes it feels like we're friends. In a way, we always have been since I first started coming to this park as a little kid. But to admit that is to take a step to change. Isn't change obliteration according to her? That's actually one of the few things she said I find easy to believe, or at least convenient to.
She told me about how different Zion used to be, you know?
There's no audible sigh, but her shoulders slump.
When did it start? Have you always known?
She stares down at the table, eyes on a cup stain. Probably from Yosemite's tea. Her fingers trace over the ring in an infinite circle.
I think it had already started by the time they found me. But even back then, Zion was different.
Different... how?
Shrugging with one shoulder, the other one stays in place so she can keep tracing.
Just different. A little taller, maybe? I don't remember so well. It's like I can think it, but I can't see it. Feelings come back the strongest.
That reminds me of something Yosemite said. If she forgets herself, and then I forget her, what proof will there be that any of it was real? Yosemite is clearer about explaining this kind of stuff. She doesn't lapse into theatrics, but the impression I get is still the same. Maybe they all forget at some point or another.
The more big ol' Zion changed to little ol' Zion, the clearer she gets in my noggin.
Usual brightness in Yellowstone's voice shines through as she recollects.
And the crankier Yosemite got.
The little burst of sunshine is short-lived, though. The mere mention of Yosemite seems like it's enough to suck the light out of anything.
I always figured she was such a sourpuss 'cause of me, you know? That her and Zion had something real swell going on, and that by me being here, I had jammed it all up. Cooking, cleaning, and all that good stuff. I do it 'cause I'm grateful for the company. And I guess at some point I started hoping that gratitude would make her less sad.
Ever think that some people are just sad by their very nature?
Being sad is natural. All suffering is. But suffer too long and you kind of remove yourself from nature. You want to move with the circle, not get left behind in it. That way, when it comes back around, you're ready.
You think Yosemite, a representative of nature, has removed herself from it?
Oh, I think it's something a whole lot of people do.
Yellowstone decides to punctuate her point by bouncing her eyebrows.
Ha.
Take another form from the pile and skim over it. Not many more to go now.
Say, what are those papers you keep tearing up?
Nothing important.
Pieces flutter to the ground and I go for the next one.
As the gal who's gonna have to sweep them up, I'd say it's pretty important to me.
I'll clean them up then.
I go for the next one, but she swipes a stack off the table before I can. She grins at me for teeth, revealing 2 rows of polished pearly whites. My eyes glaze over.
They're feedback forms. Visitors can fill them out. Most do it to complain. All these ones happen to mention me.
Just a moment. I'm back. My family has returned from the shop.
Ooh, juicy gossip.
Quickly unfolds the entire stack. Her eyes scan from left to right as she reads through the first page.
Hey, this don't look like moaning to me. In fact, they're saying some real nice things about ya. Handwriting could be better, though.
Yeah, they're all like that. My supervisor wanted me to read them.
So why are you ripping them all up?
Because they're convenient lies.
She licks her thumb and shuffles to the next farm.
You mean none of these things actually happened?
Oh, they happened, all right. I just think they got the wrong impression of me. Take a look at any of those and tell me if it sounds like me.
I think they do.
Then, for my sake, I hope you're wrong.
Yellowstone flips to the next farm, saying nothing as she reads through it. She stares at it for a good long time. Her eyes are moving, like she's narrowing in on one spot. Then she starts digging around in her head again. Great, really wish she would warn me before doing this. I just won't have to eat whatever comes out of there this time, I hope. She whips out a small roll of tape, tears off a piece, then bends both sides together to make it double-sided. All I do is watch as she does this a couple more times and sticks them to the back of the farm she was just reading.
Having fun?
She answers by snagging Teddy off the table and slapping the farm onto the first 3 pages.
Hey! That's my journal, not your arts and crafts project!
I leap out of my chair and rush to the other side of the table, ready to pry Teddy out of her soon-to-be cold dead hands. She doesn't retaliate though, already presenting the book to me before I have the chance to get physical. I rip it out of her hands.
You're dead.
Read it.
I glare at her, still contemplating all the sharp objects I could shove inside her head.
Go on, don't be shy.
I look down at Teddy. The edges of the forms she taped in there are sticking out of the journal, breaking up the aligned cohesion of every other page. I do more like a bookmarker than the form doesn't even let me flip through the pages. All I have to do is open it up and I'm there. There's no name, number, email addresses, or even listed dates aside from logos in the form and the formula. Hey, that's how we're doing. All there is to read is the print on the paragraph lines. Didn't catch your name, but I wanted to thank that one ginger ranger for sitting down next to me on that log while eating lunch. We said a few words to each other, but I'm still here. But I'm still here for the time being because of it.
There's nothing wrong with being valued, Eve.
Everything just stops. My heart, my bitching, hell, even my lungs, because I'm not even sure I'm breathing. There's no way. I'm not. I'm not valuable. I'm not being valued. I'm not worth being valued. Flash of white blinds me, and a few seconds later I hear the thunder below it. When my sight comes back, the room is dark, filled with shadows.
Ah, phooey. The darn lights went out.
Aww. Yellowstone scurries across the room, from window to window, drawing open the curtains to let in natural light. It gives me enough time to iron out the lump in my throat and choke down the stray sobs. I'm not valuable. But to one person, I guess I was. So at the end of the day, it didn't matter if they had the wrong impression of me or not, as long as they saw the end of the day. It's a faint knock at the door. Yellowstone freezes in place, both arms spread out, opening a curtain. I wipe away the tears and still stuck to my cheeks. Cyan's muffled voice is barely audible over the sound of rain and thunder, but I can hear her usual polite timidness ring out like a church bell. Guess she didn't outright exile herself like Yosemite did. Don't get why she had to ask permission to come in from a walk she decided to go in though. Yosemite rushes to the door. Yosemite rushes to the... Why did they have to give them both Y names? Yellowstone rushes to the bathroom, then shuffles back out, a fresh towel in hand. She opens the front door so fast, I wouldn't be surprised if she wound up tearing it off the hinges.
Come in, I'll give you shelter from the storm.
She ushers Zion inside and closes the door behind her. She's sopping wet even from her wings. Even her wings are weighed down by the water dripping from them. Puddle forms around her feet.
Just look at ya, you're soaked to the bone.
Without missing a beat, Yellowstone kneels down and starts drying Zion off with a towel. There's no method to it, it's just sporadically scrubs every area of her body like you would with your hair just getting out of the shower.
Sorry for getting upset earlier.
Her words are jumbled and muffled by the towel.
It ain't no thing.
starts scrubbing, and Zion's head pops out of the towel. She stops scrubbing, and Zion's head pops out of the towel. Poor Zion looks as guilty as a felon despite being the victim in all this.
You're not fibbing, are you?
Of course not. We've all been getting a little peeved lately, so I think your lid is entitled to at least one flip.
Okay. I still think it was childish of me, though.
They smile at each other, then conk foreheads and nuzzle them together. Yellowstone mentioned that Yosemite has a bad case of mama bear syndrome, but looking at this, I have to wonder who might have it worse.
You got back here quick. Sure you did enough thinking out there?
She jumps to the sound of my voice, my presence making itself known from the shadows.
Probably not as much thinking as you do, Miss Eve.
Too much of it if you ask me.
It's better than thinking too little. Probably.
It's not. She breaks away from Yellowstone, who was still in the middle of drying her, and gets a few steps to me. Yellowstone pouts as she wipes up the drops of water behind her.
Actually, the reason I came back is because I wanted to talk to you.
To me? Don't know if you noticed, but I don't have the most engaging personality.
That's not true. Yosemite wouldn't like you as much as she does if that were the case.
Aww. The words start to stumble out, but just end up sputtering to a stop. No response for that. Yosemite doesn't actually like me, right? Only tolerate me. Unless she really does. Oh my god, that's horrifying. Enemies to lovers. Enemies to lovers. Come on, make it happen. Make it happen, Suyo Coattails. I know you're not listening to this, but make it happen. Not because she might see me as an acquaintance that she enjoys spending time with, but because I'm okay with it. Instead of walking the rest of the way to me, she gets up and floats to meet me eye to eye.
Could you possibly take my hand? I'd like to go somewhere special for this.
She extends her hand to me. I don't immediately grab it.
Ooh, another field trip! Do we want to try for another picnic?
Actually, Yellowstone.
Yellowstone scrunches up her face like she's trying to do long divination. I'm a little worried at first, but she finally gets the right equation.
Oh, I see how it is. You cats think you're too cool for school. A bumpkin like me would just cramp your style.
Zion gasps at the notion. She starts to speak, but Yellowstone turns around and waves us off.
Go on, get. Old Yellowstone will hold down the fort like she always does.
Her dismissive hand slips into a thumbs up. Zion breathes a relieved sigh.
Thank you.
Hold on, I haven't agreed to anything yet.
That's okay. You'd end up doing it anyway.
Well, she's not wrong. She clasps my hand and smiles.
Yeah, fine.
Static. I'm swept away. The ground gives way beneath me, and as do the walls, the air. Anything familiar to ground me is gone. All engulfed by the sizzling of electricity running through me. Then darkness. A deep, eternal darkness. Most natural I've ever seen. Doesn't feel dangerous or scary, just inviting. Like the indescribable space and falling through is cramped, or cradling arms, or something much bigger. I want to let go. Then there's ground. I stumble for footing, but when you're going to slip, there's never any stopping it.
Ah, son of a...
My knees slam down on jagged rock. Tiny pebbles meld into my shins. If my jeans weren't already shredded, this would have done the trick.
Such a bumpy landing. You weren't thinking about letting go, were you?
Zion gently floats beside me, her wings tucked in, as both feet gently touch the ground.
Does it matter if I was? Ouch.
It does! You mustn't even think of it! Never, ever!
Before I can let myself truly meditate on the pain, Zion bends over and helps me up. Dust myself off and try not to look at my knees. If it's going to leave a mark, I'd rather not see it.
So, I'm guessing we're somewhere in Zion.
Chill wind blows right through me, tossing my hair. Red and orange mountain cliffs. Red and orange mountain cliffs bookend a winding, vibrant valley, and encapsulates the area tightly enough to be a canyon.
So, I'm guessing we're somewhere in
Shit, I mean,
Zion.
only proof there's something beyond here, and that there is an end, is the river curving through the green inferno, bending out of sight behind a mountain. It's a place I'll probably never see, never step foot in.
Feeling enraptured?
Only so many vistas you girls can show me before that stops happening.
I don't believe that's true.
Yeah, it's not.
Spell here is different from Yosemite. Don't even catch a whiff of that familiar pine scent I love so much. See, they are lesbians. Give it. I'm rooting so hard for the lesbians. The air here is so thin and crisp it could almost be called odorless, if not for the faint hint of sage that peppers the back of my throat. It's also clean.
Is this where your painting is?
Angel's Landing. That's correct. Although, I'd like to think of it more as a portrait.
Anything with a frame usually is.
With a name like Angel's Landing, it's not always this blunt. She smirks.
It seems the best of us is rubbing off on you.
Zion closes her eyes, taking in a deep, steadying breath. It all feels so cynical in a way. She's taking in air from her landing. It filters through her, and then she breathes it back out, assuming she had lungs, assuming anything. She draws her eyes from the green expanses, locking them on her bare chest. She draws her. I'm having a fucking stroke. She draws her eyes from the green expanse, locking them on her bare feet. A troubled frown has carved itself deep into her face. Although she hasn't always seemed troubled, frantic little thing she is.
Miss Eve, I believe I was being wishy-washy today.
Baby.
Why? Because you couldn't stand up to Yosemite? She was always gonna push it as far as she could. It's her malfunction, not yours.
It was never about standing up for myself. What I'm guilty of is much worse. I wasn't able to commit to the truth. I had told you that change is natural.
As gradual as the passing of the dusk to dawn.
I echo her words back at her. She freezes, a little surprised that I remembered it, maybe. The somber look on her face tells me that all I've done is just reinforce what she's determined to be the truth.
Yes, that's right. And yet, I wasn't certain enough to contradict that almost immediately afterwards. Telling you that we do what we can for as long as we can. But that's resisting change. It's a terrible thing. To indulge someone else's stagnation. That's what I did to Yosemite.
Guess that's one way to look at it, but there's something about that, something about it that bugs me. It shifts personal accountability from Yosemite to Zion. However, I don't believe for a second that was ever Yosemite's intentions. I have my issues with her and how she's acted, but there's always something about it I can relate to. There's no way I could ever read her mind, but I think it would only make her feel worse if she knew Zion was blaming herself in this way.
You know, after she ran, I went and tracked her down.
That was a very kind thing to do.
Jesus Christ, Eva's... Jesus Christ, why did they kick her up so much? Sorry. Alright. Moving on from that.
To chew her out.
Oh,
Every reason and justification she gave me sounded selfish and brain dead. For someone who exclusively speaks with words that are over 2 syllables, she sure has trouble articulating herself. But after cooling off a little, I think I sort of get it.
It's interesting. Even up here, overlooking everything that there is in the valley, I can still make out fine details. The biggest one is the flow of the river, the river's current. Unlike Zion's portrait, There aren't any black or white dashes in the water to communicate movement to the viewer. All I have to do is look at it and I know it's moving forward.
She's afraid. Not of change, but what can be left behind because of it. Who you used to be might be different than who you are now, even if you still think you're that person. New isn't scary, but the idea that the old might not be there anymore is. The drama queen compared it to obliteration. And she said that's what happened to you.
Been dancing around the subject of Zion for long enough. We can talk all day about symbology, an allegory that hint at what happened to her, but that's not honest. I think she knows it too. She smells like an old master thief finally caught in the act, like an expression suited for someone far older than how she looks.
Do you know what happened to you?
It's not about knowing, Miss Eve. Anyone can tell they're sunburned if they've been outside long enough. I don't remember. It's like you said. Whoever I was is much different than who I am now.
A dull sadness pulses somewhere hidden in my chest. I'm not sure if it's anything deep, just a shallow wistfulness.
But to say that I've been obliterated would be a true disservice to whoever it is that I was.
A sharp wind pushes at us from behind. Zion's satisfied smile gets a little bigger as her eyes sneak to her peripheral. Zion's satisfied smile gets a little bigger as her eyes sneak to her peripheral. I make a subtle turn to see what she's looking at. Behind us, Yosemite's tall figure watches from the brush. She stands still, careful to do nothing that would make herself known.
Obliteration isn't real. Everything echoes. Whether me, you, or anyone else knows it or not. Everything is passed down. No one ever truly leaves their old self behind. The old informs the new. It'd be imaginary without it. And not just ourselves, but others too. It's not scary, not one tiny bit, because any part of yourself that's ever been will always be.
I wonder who she's talking to at this point. It's cheeky, more like a sticky imp than a delicate angel. But who can stand beside an angel and argue with their message aside from the devil and his advocates?
So the residual effects of misery last forever, huh?
Yes, has the building blocks to much better things.
Oh, she's so adorable. Only to be tossed into a lake of fire. No, that's real obliteration. Strands of Zion's golden hair flitter in the breeze. Petals and leaves fall off her body, drifting into the clear blue skies back in California. Back in California at the cabin, about the storm is still raging. Dark skies and howling winds. National parks have the range of a choir.
So, can I ask a question?
I think you just did, but another one is okay too.
Do you, have the wings because of the names of places like this? Or is there a logistical reason for it? I don't understand why you girls look the way you do at all.
A twinkle in her eye dulls. Her sage smile goes flat.
Miss Eve, stop overcomplicating everything.
Yo, perspective switch, let's go! Zion and the Rangers stay for a little while longer. Conversation lapses into discussing about Zion National Park and the sights of the area. Eve isn't one to get excited about about very many things, but as she's talking about all the sites she wants to camp at and the trail she wants to hike, there's a real light that exudes from her. To be truthful, I prefer it to be the hopelessness that weighs down her personality near constantly. I prefer it to the hopelessness that weighs down her personality near constantly. It's easier to imagine myself with that kind of light when she's an example to follow by. Eventually she grabs hands and vanishes within a blink of an eye. quite scuffle of wind is the only proof that they were ever there. I don't think they noticed me. Being observant is one of the things I pride myself on, so looking at her sight isn't a difficult task. Sifting into the brush, I take a seat on the edge of the cliff. Because of Zion's painting, I have immediate access to this place, but I choose not to come very often. It's a painful reminder of things I know I'll need reminders of. Still, it's a wondrous view. It's unlike anything in my park, and me. The sky turns a magical orange, golden orange. It's as if the sunset is jealous and has chosen to copy the colors of the very mountains it set behind. The river is not jealous, however. It naturally reflects whatever surrounds it. The river can be whatever it wants and whatever it needs to be. So I sit there, hoping that the blue strands of my hair can do the same as the rivers they invoke, to reflect the things in front of me. Even if they are what I am. Even if they are not what I am, so I can chameleon myself as those things, perhaps eventually becoming them in earnest. I do that until the light sinks below the horizon. Then the river only reflects the darkness and eventually the moon. Hey, oh, Blossoms, you're back. Moderately higher than before. Tut tut tut. Cannot believe you. Is that until the light sinks at the horizon, then the river only reflects the darkness and eventually the moon. There is static, the collision of the natural and the unseen, and there is darkness. And now there is rain. I stand in the front of the door, immediate access to wherever within the confines of this park, and I'm still too much of a coward to zap myself inside. Any folk about Gimd? New Yorker accent. Give me a Gimd. As I stick up hand over the Gimd. The lightning sizzles through the sky, and for precious milliseconds it lights up the dark shadows of the surrounding mountains as if it were day. Hey, I'm gendering. If younger brother Thunder moans, what? If younger brother Thunder moans, booming at me, demanding that I face what my panic was wrought, I would stay out here forever and ignore it, but I choose not to. I twist the knob and creep through the door. Inside of the cabin is blanketed in shadows, no electricity, not even fire. The dim luminance of the outside world, the lights that would be here if even the sun itself snuffed out, bleeds through the window. There is no such thing as pitch black. New York gangsters, gentlemen. Should have certain try highs that heard half is no monster. Perfect.
Yosemite? Is that you?
Her voice is a groggy whisper, yet even that feels like a challenge. So do most of the things from her. The urge to answer it is just too great.
No, I'm an intruder, here to desecrate your federal property.
Shh. Not so loud. The others are sleeping.
Oh. I didn't know.
My banter just got shot down, utterly. I feel embarrassed.
Well, don't just stand there. You're letting all the cold air in.
My heart somersaults as I hurry to shut the door. Quietly, of course. The atmosphere is so strange here, as if the entire cabin's axis has been shifted, subtle but noticeable. The floorboards squeak as I tiptoe around the cabin. I take another step. There's a quiet grunt, more of an irritated breath than a growl. I look down to see the coyote pup baring his top row of teeth at me. He's laying on his side, legs and ears spread out. It lessens the danger, but I scurry to the ranger shaped outline on the couch anyway.
Doc, my teeth keep falling out. Yum.
Okay. Thank you, you sound very tall. Yelson is still sitting on the couch, slouched over onto Eve's shoulder and drilling in incoherent dreams. Incoherent dream words slip out of her between snores.
Look,
Her eyes single down. Curled up like a fetus, Zion sits up on the, takes up the last free cushion, but is small enough for the couch to still feel spacious, with a soft rhythm to her breath. Her sleep always seems so peaceful. No mutters or snores, just such a contrast to the panic she carries with her throughout the day. It gives me the impression that the life she leads when she's dreaming may be the real one, but all this is just a brief, bittersweet vision, a byproduct. I brush her bangs out of the way of her forehead and run my fingers through the rest of her hair. It's soft and weightless, as if it were made from the fabric and strands of all the feathers that have been ever fallen from her wings.
There's something broken in me, isn't there?
welcome to the club. Now sit down.
Is that an offer? A demand? Probably both. I hesitate, and somehow I know I'll be doing that a lot more. Somehow I know that I'll be doing that a lot more lately. Hesitating, thinking, even though I already do far too much for the latter. Fear of forgetting and the fear of tomorrow will continue to color everything I do from now on. Just as it's coloring my perception of Zion at this very moment, from a loving mentor to child I love, and now to Enigma. Everything is shifting. I know that. Despite how much I try to fight against it. Does doing so make me a worse version of myself? I want to uncover truths. It's all I've devoted myself to. Yet here I am, kicking against the inconvenienced ones. I slide onto the couch, careful not to stir. Zion. Gently I shift her onto my lap. She tosses my heart, and my heart drops as I try to will her from waking up. It seems to work, because she only nuzzles herself deeper into me. Eve does her best attempt to turn her head as she tries to navigate the uncomfortable position of Yellowstone's volcano, weighing down most of her left neck muscles.
I called you selfish earlier.
You did?
It's not damning.
It should be, though. I know what I am.
You do?
Of course. I'm selfish. Vindictive and scared. In my crisis, I drag down others to my low. Make them as afraid and uncertain as me.
Like to Yellowstone, her sleeps are never quite as restful as Zion's. I've heard her mumble lists of chores and expectations in her sleep before. I've heard her whimper as well. When I look to Zion, an image of perfection that I'm unsure ever even existed, despite being so sure this morning, but probably not. The ranger, Eve, chews on her bottom lip, contemplating my words. Things I've always treated as weapons, but are really just shields.
It's true. You're all of those things. I've been right about you since day one. It's fine, though. I am too.
She reaches to pat the back of my hand twice, then draws it away. A smirk forces its way across my lips, though I can't describe it as anything but cynical.
Well, you are only human after all.
Fog presses against the window across the room, water trailing down the glass. A patter of rain taps against the roof. Until it's over. Until it's over, I don't believe any of us will leave this couch.
Yosemite! Wherever are you hiding? Oh dear me. If she doesn't appear soon, I won't be able to tell her a story. Our picnic will be ruined. Whatever shall I do?
Wait, I'm right here! I want to hear the story!
Oh, I'm not so sure now. It's getting rather late. Perhaps we should return to the cabin.
Preposterous!
It's preposterous, dear.
Preposterous! Please, Zion! I want to hear the story about the swallow again! Tell me the swallow story!
Oh shit.
Goodness. I suppose I have no choice then.
No, you certainly do not!
Very well. Come sit down, little one. You can't listen to a story from all the way over there, now can you?
Coming!
Straighten your posture.
But Zion, must I really?
Oh shit. Adult Zion and baby Yosemite. They're both so cute.
Only if you respect yourself.
Now,
Once upon a time, there was a poor man in a field. In the past, he had been quite popular, but rambunctiousness had gotten the better of him, and he had spent all his valuable possessions, including his clothes. While wandering the endless field, he saw a swallow overhead.
You don't come back from this, not like before.
Are you just really gonna end it like that?
Nation loves all who knocks on her
God damn it. Really try. They're really. Ugh. I guess the conflict will carry over into the next couple chapters. God damn it. Ugh. Jesus, it's roasting in here. I guess we'll continue to chapter 4 in 2 weeks from now.
Howdy-yo, campers, and welcome back to another edition of mine and Zion's Fireside Chat.
And then we'll have to have the excruciating wait for the final chapter. But let's get this fucking. I don't even know why we bother playing these, but I guess we should get the full experience of learning about America, I suppose.
hello. It's very nice to be here.
Today we're gonna talk about something we've seen a whole lot of people getting discombobulated over.
Is it your head?
Not this time! Though to be really all about the dealio with ya, I'm starting to get a little sensitive about that. Nah, this time we're gonna explain once and for all the difference between a national park and a national monument.
There's a surprising amount of confusion over this, so hopefully we'll be able to help.
It ain't that surprising. I mean, they both got the word national in them. Most folks just zone out after the first word of phrase.
They do?
Oh, maybe only I do that.
I love you, Yellowstone.
Wait, why doesn't it sound like you mean it?
Aww.
So, there are more details to go into, but the most important thing to understand is that a national park can only be established by an act of Congress. A national monument is established through a presidential proclamation.
Huh? It's that simple? Hot diggity, this is gonna be our shortest episode yet!
Not so fast, Yellowstone. These
Ugh.
nice people are here to be educated. We have to do our jobs for their sake.
Huh? Are you sure? What if they get funny ideas and start making weird fan art about National Monument Girls? I don't think I'm ready for that.
Cough, cough, nudge, nudge. Lol the nose.
It's a risk we have to be willing to take for education.
For education. So, if national parks are decided by Congress and national monuments are decided by the president, doesn't that mean any old place can become one or the other?
Not quite. This is when things start to get a little more complicated.
Please bear with us by standing your ground and appearing large.
Yellowstone, you're confusing your bears again.
Even if that's true, it'll never stop me from bearing my soul.
That's horrible.
Hmm.
Why was that line so much louder than every other one?
For monuments, it's a little easier. As long as a building, site, or piece of land is significant in some way, then it can be declared a national monument. In fact, this is how we determine the difference between a national historic site and a national historical park.
Don't tell me there's a difference. Boy, this is only getting more and more confusing.
Why do the Americans have to have all this confusing bullshit? I'm sure Scotland has just as much.
I'll try my best to explain.
I think we have national parks, do we? Hold on, look it up. course, we have a national anthem. Apparently, we have 2 national parks: Loch Lomond and the Trobriand. Oh, I've heard of Loch Lomond. I haven't heard of the other one. I should go sometime. National Park sounds sweet as fuck. Moving on from that, back to the listener stuff.
Basically, sites can be historic in that significant events happen there, like Ford's Theater, where President Lincoln was assassinated. Meanwhile, parks are designated independently of any events that may have occurred there. They may be historical, but in order for a place to be considered a park, National Historic or otherwise, it has to have opportunities for recreational activities.
Like hiking and rock climbing and other trail junk.
That's right! Size is also important too. Small parks used to be established on occasion, but in modern times, it's expected for a park to be big enough for broad use.
So if it makes you feel itty bitty and tiny, then it's probably a park?
That's a good way to look at it, although there will always be exceptions.
Seems like there's a tractor load of those.
Yeah, it's a teeny bit messy. Most monuments, parks, and sites are managed by the National Park Service, though. But sometimes, the Bureau of Land Management is in charge of them, or even other departments. Sometimes people push for things to be more organized, but that's probably a long ways off, so you shouldn't hold your breath. No, seriously, Yellowstone, stop holding your breath.
Oh well, guess for now we just gotta keep appreciating the messy beauty we got now. Who cares about names or what's official? As long as folks get a chance to see neato places, it's all square in my book.
Just make sure to come visit us first, or else we'll get lonely.
Well, thanks for dropping by, but it looks like we gotta split. Catch you next time, campers, and remember to love our parks.
Bye-bye!
And that was chapter 3.
Ranger Adams? I thought...
That is the start of chapter 4, which we'll be doing in like a fortnight or something. Yeah, someone told me to save. There we are. Actually, I'll just... There we are! Thank you everyone for coming. It's not often I actually have an active chat. I mean, it's actually been quite active recently. So, thanks for coming. It was incredible. It was great to have a new follower, Blossoms, if you're still watching. Yeah, rating stream next week, for Under the Eclipse, and probably chapter 4 the week after. I may do a stream or two in between. Don't hold your breath. I always say I'm going to do it and then never bother. But until then, bye.